The 12th Level Intellects podcast is hosted by the Watchtower Database. Visit watchtowerdatabase.com for more podcast episodes, videos, comics, artwork, and pretty much anything DC Animated Universe you can think of.
Only a 12th level intellect has the slightest hope of surviving what you are about to experience.
Three, 2, 1, clap.
All right, so
That was great.
Is that how many
Usually-
claps that we give Dark Phoenix?
it's something like that.
3 claps.
3 claps and you're out.
So the first rule of YouTube is to not read the comments, which is something that I don't think any of us except for Ted does. But I feel
I
like
love reading comments.
I feel like
No,
I
I
feel
don't.
like if we didn't read the comments, we'd miss a lot of just comedy gold. And so I wanted to share that with you guys today. So, all of this shit retcons the Killing Joke out the fucking window?
Which video?
Wait. Did Bobby Newport write this comment?
Yes.
Well,
Never
Bobby
worked a day in his
Newport.
life.
He's never
What
worked a
what
day
video
in
is this
his
on? Is this on the
This is
Parks and Recreation.
this is on the
vanishing point.
the vanishing point for the joke.
Okay. Continue.
So, all of this shit retcons the Killing Joke out the fucking window? It just shows that these hoes ain't loyal. Even female superheroes and supervillains. One day, Batgirl gets romantically involved with Batman, which he turned her down many times. Finally, she gets the chance for Batman to finally take her virginity and get her knocked up in the process. And after a couple of incredibly traumatizing events that occurred, especially with Tim Drake, she finally quits, gives Batman the guilt trip that it's over between us when she was the one that started it. Dick hops back to Dick like if nothing ever
I liked
happened.
that line. Dick hops back to Dick. That was a good one.
A beta,
Good pun.
a beta cucked out Dick comes out to fight the Bat over the shit that Batgirl started. If anything, she deserved the punch more than Batman did because she's the one that wanted to get on Batman's grappling hook. None of this resolved shit. The bitch ends up having a miscarriage and ends up hopping with another N-word on a moped. Harley
He did not write
Quinn.
N-word.
Harley Quinn fucks around with Batman, then rapes Nightwing, then goes back to Batman's utility belt. Gets romantically involved with Deadshot to go back with the Joker? Did you forget to add the part where she was a mass genocidal terrorist where she blew up several trains full of children? Moral of the story is, DC, stick to your fucking story. Stop adding and retconning shit. None of this shit adds up. That's why I love Japanese mangas better. It's short and simple, divided by volumes.
No, it's not.
None of this
You gotta read 'em
convoluted
backwards.
mess.
Lick this if you cry ever, Tim.
My favorite. I think
What
my
a
favorite
rant.
part. My favorite part is when he says, "She finally quits." Gives Batman the guilt trip that it's over between us. He puts "that it's over between us" in quotes. He doesn't put "it's over between us" in
no-
quotes. He puts the
Yeah.
"that" inside of the quotes as well.
That means it's not.
I want to know what Tim Drake got all wrapped up into this romantic relationship.
Right?
How is he the third wheel in all of it? I mean, I
same
get
way-
the
the same
Return
way
of the Joker
Deadshot
stuff.
did.
I get that, but
JC,
oh,
JC, if you're listening, we love you, and
Jesus Christ.
we
is who we're
understand that
talking.
you're angry. We just don't understand what you're angry about. I feel your
Yes.
anger
Because
is
it retcons the
misdirected.
Killing Joke out the fucking window.
I feel
but the Killing Joke was never in the
Yeah, so
DCAU.
okay, so
is now.
JC, if you're listening, Earth 12 kind of follows the DCAU, but doesn't exactly. the Killing Joke was never in continuity with the DCAU. So you don't need to worry about it to the extent that
he doesn't.
you
He's
are.
not listening to this.
And Harley Quinn and Deadshot did not get together in the DCAU either.
When did Harley Quinn blow up trains? When did
I don't know,
happen?
but just because you see a story happen doesn't mean that they all happen in the same continuity. And I would expect a comic book nerd to understand this, but JC, if you're listening, here's your lesson, buddy. We love you. Oh, we hope we've shed some light on some things that make you angry, and maybe it's calmed you down a little bit. But if
Stop
not,
it. Get some help.
yeah.
I'm thinking of like Laffy, the elf from Christmas the Joker. I love blowing up trains and bridges.
Yeah.
That's what
Boy,
happened.
Mr. Joker. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
anyway, who wants to
welcome
introduce us?
to another level
Who are
of
we?
12th Intellect people. This episode of it. I'm Maddie Kendrick.
My name is Chris Lord, and with me today is Cameron Dexter.
Yeah, that's
Hello,
me.
nice to be here.
We are the Tim Talk podcast.
That's you, huh?
I'm both.
Cameron Dexter is two people.
Yeah,
I'll be
Cameron
the
and
guest.
Dexter,
I'll be your honored guest.
You can be Chaz Chasington.
I'm
Ooh.
Chaz Chazington.
No,
Oh, I
Chaz
am now.
Chasington is Chaz Chasington.
Boom, boom.
All right, so let's start with things that happened in recent times, also known as news. There's those Rorschach videos you just showed me are pretty cool on Instagram. They're
That's
Watchmen
not
little
Rorschach.
teasers.
That's not
Well, it's
Rorschach.
supposed to be, right? It's supposed to look
It's
like
a
him.
copycat Rorschach.
No, so that is a
Oh.
character. That's a character that they're calling Looking Glass.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 videos on the Watchmen Twitter. They're like just 2 or 3 seconds long. Not Twitter, on their Instagram. They might be on the Twitter too, but I saw them on the Instagram. They're like 3 seconds long, and we get a look at a new character named Looking Glass with almost no context to anything.
He just has like a question kind of face, but it's like black, shiny black. Like, so it's just face. It's featureless. But
there's a lot of featureless, like yellow-faced people.
Yeah, but he's standing in front of like a projection of various images that the way they reflect off his face looks like a Rorschach test. So I understand.
There's also horses in the back.
There are, yeah, there really was.
They're back there with the track.
I know a child actress who is on the show. I know her mom because one of her other kids was on Pop Pop Is Dead. The movie
I'm glad
that
you
produced.
explained that it's because you know her mom.
Yeah, it's because I know the mom.
My ex is working on the show as well. I'm really excited about it.
I'm trying.
It looks like
I've
it's gonna
seen
be a lot
Mom
of fun.
will get me on season 2. I was like, hit me up with season 2.
Yeah.
Crew it up.
I can play the comedian.
Throw me in the production office. I will
Maddie for
do something.
Maddie for question 2021 or whatever.
Yeah, if you guys want to tweet at Kevin Smith and tell him to put me in the question show that he wants to make, I feel like I've made a compelling case on Twitter for this. And it got like up to 20 likes, I think, which is pretty decent for my normal output. But if you guys wanna push Kevin Smith towards it more, he's interacted with me on Twitter before, but he ignored this. So
you can also retweet the Batman Trump thing that we made so that people see it more.
Yeah,
Kevin
but
Conroy retweeted it more.
less Twitter. You guys got any more news?
No.
I was gonna talk about Black Adam. That movie got a director.
Oh, okay.
It is
The Rock.
No, he's still Black Adam. He's still going to star. And it is definitely a spin-off from the Shazam movie, if there was any doubt. It is connected to it.
There was a while where it was going to be...
John Collet-Serra? I don't know if I said that right, but
Probably
it's the guy
not.
who did Shallows. Shallows is a horror movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's the director.
I just saw that as well. I don't know anything about what he's directed in the past. I know you just said Shallows. I haven't seen it. So, I can't...
That's like his big thing, yeah.
I can't say
there
here or there what that means for me, but I liked Shazam, so I'm willing to see Black Adam.
Yeah. Wasn't there a time when Black Adam was gonna come out before the Shazam movie? Like,
I think so.
There was a
like,
Black
they've been
Adam
teasing
movie
that
announced,
for a
but not a
while.
Shazam
There was a time
movie.
where Joss Whedon had a Batgirl movie.
There was a time when lots of DC movies were gonna happen. Yeah.
Speaking of DCEU stuff, though, we did get that teaser image for Wonder Woman 84. It pissed off
The golden armor.
Ooh,
it
yeah,
pissed
that
off a
looked
lot
good.
of people.
The golden-
Because
Why?
Because we're ruining Zack Snyder's vision.
Yeah.
right?
So a lot of people are upset that it's still not the grimdark, and they're like, "Why are you appealing to these women?" And it's it's like my take on it was, my dude, look at the posters for Thor 2 and Thor 3.
Yeah.
You know.
What even is a Wonder Woman in 2019 anyway?
But yeah, so there's
So wait, is Wonder Woman 84 years old in this movie?
That's what the title
so.
means.
Okay,
I hope so.
that would make sense because
So
she was in
this
World War
is-
One before,
Yes, this is
and
set.
now
Yeah, you got it.
There's one more. There's one more small piece of maybe news for the DCEU. I say maybe because this is coming from We Got This Covered, which is notorious for really bad rumors. But they say James Gunn will reportedly help DC rebuild their cinematic universe. So I assume that the rumor,
starting with Suicide Squad.
I assume that the rumor that they have seems to be that he's going to be their Kevin Feige. I don't see him having the time for that while still doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's probably his last Guardians of the Galaxy, though.
Yeah.
Or is it as Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right.
Either way,
You never know.
Either way, it's
It
coming.
changes everything.
It's coming from a site that's less than reputable. So
What was it? Is this
Take
is
it-
this
take
along
it
the
with a
same
grain of
lines
salt.
of that thing going around the Discord of like they're gonna cancel all the DC Universe shows and DC Universe is gonna go away and they're gonna cancel the DCEU and start over and everything is rerouting itself.
Not 100%. Slightly, though.
But that was pretty seemingly not true. But
yeah. Speaking of that though,
I do
Yeah,
want to talk
Swamp
about
Thing,
Swamp Thing
yeah.
getting canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
tell us
It
what you
did.
know,
Do
Ted. You live in the state.
we
I know
got
a
the
lot.
inside jokes, the
Been
inside
keeping
knowledge.
keeping an eye on it because for a minute there, the rumors were that it was because of North Carolina, which is where I live, that our state tax credits. There's only a certain amount of money per year allotted towards film, and the rumor was that North Carolina had promised Swamp Thing a $40 million tax credit, and that was going to cover half of their $80 million budget. And they got to episode 10 of production to learn that, it's not 40 million, it's 14 million. And that ended up being not true at all.
Oh, okay.
The truth of it is that North Carolina was always only going to ever contribute about 14 million. I think the actual number is 13. And it's
So the
because
guy they were talking to that told them the number, he was completely
so that
drunk
guy-
and said, "Oh yeah, it's about 40
I don't know if he
million."
was drunk, but he had nothing to do with it. He was just a random writer in Texas from movies.com who happened to do a tweet that went viral with those numbers in it.
Oh.
And then that went on for Hollywood Reporter, Deadline.
That must be true,
They
yeah.
ran with the story that North Carolina. So for a few days after that, it was like, is it true? Or is Warner Brothers just restructuring their DC Universe app? What's really going on? The truth is that there wasn't any like weirdness with North Carolina. That all was fine.
Oh.
It went the way it was always planned to go. But production does seem like it still got more expensive than Warner wanted to justify the show they were making. And because they are doing this AT&T reshuffling, I truly think that's the main reason. But it's such a bad idea to cancel a show right after the pilot comes out. It's so stupid. Like, whoever did that, like, if you're listening, Warner Brothers, hire me. I'll take that guy's job. I'm sure you just fired him. Like,
Well, even if they are going to cancel it, don't tell us right after they show you the first episode.
It's Defenders all over again.
Yeah,
wait at least until the season's done, you know.
Just wait until July 2nd when the first of the second set of the Young Justice episodes comes out, and then they say
we're not doing any more Young Justice.
Yeah. And we never were going to. Yeah. There is no
lied.
second half of season 3.
Actually, this is the last episode.
So
Yeah.
the last thing I want to say about Swamp Thing is because I really did enjoy the first episode, and I did try, like, after all this news broke out, it was really hard for me to finish the second episode.
Same here.
I haven't gotten to
because
watch any of it.
I tried to watch the second episode,
lost
and I'm sure it's good, but I lost interest because of everything.
know.
It's just like
I know.
It's just like
This whole thing.
What's the point of investing myself in these 10 episodes if it's likely going to end on a cliffhanger that will never be resolved?
And what I read is that they were building towards 3 seasons, and by the end of season 3, they would have introduced and established the Justice League Dark.
Oh.
So we could have seen, like, Deadman, John Constantine Zatanna, all of them, like, one by one, Etrigan, Blue Devil, they all probably would have popped up. And
That's cool.
what a missed opportunity.
Well, there was
Good job.
there's already been like Blue Devil hinting at, so
Yeah, he was kind of in the trailer.
yeah. Well, he was
or like something.
There
like
was
him.
there was the actor was in the second episode.
See, I didn't finish
Oh,
this episode.
okay.
But yeah,
It was
no,
I
nice.
feel like it was pretty early in the episode, but yeah, there was like a whole
And-
poster and everything up in his movie
Cassidy,
store.
something Cassidy, right?
Nice. Yeah, Daniel Cassidy.
Yeah.
And to tie it all back around to North Carolina, the character of Blue Devil was based off the Duke University mascot
The Blue
of
Devils.
the Blue
Yeah.
Devils.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the character is actually based off the North Carolina college team. Anyway,
Well,
Not the Blue Devils Drum and Bugle Corps? Oh, well.
yeah.
That's
nope.
too bad. Well, let's talk about Tom King Phantasm thing.
yeah,
That looks pretty
Yeah.
cool.
that's
Batman.
exciting.
It does.
There was the Batman Catwoman cover that was shown.
She
but
awaits
But then
you,
it turned
your
out to not be
angel
the
of
full
death.
cover. Yeah, it was they're in the reflection of Phantasm's
Right.
swing blade.
I'm glad Tom King's getting a chance to finish his Batman story. And
Sure.
starting with a new #1, like a new Batman Catwoman series like this, it's such a cool way to differentiate it from the rest of his run.
Is this a
and doing
new
something-
Batman Catwoman volume?
I
Has
feel
there
like-
been a
I feel
Batman
like-
Catwoman before? Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of potential for, because it's a new #1, that more people might read it than like if it ended up being Batman number 86.
Part of the Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the Phantasm on the front cover, you know that's gonna grab
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I'm pleasantly surprised at how little Phantasm appears to be redesigned for comics. Like the eyes and mask look exactly the same as they do on the.
I mean, it's already perfect. I don't know what else you would do with it.
Yeah, right.
Like it's a character that like is so fucking well known and yet has only appeared in
Yeah.
a small handful of comics
Yeah.
and never
Yeah.
in the main continuity. So it's
Yeah.
like, why would you if you're bringing this well known and respected character into the main continuity over 25 years after the fact, like why would you even try to touch the design?
Sure. I
It's-
guess so,
people know this, and you're starting a new book. Keep with what people know,
Yeah,
and
they've
then they'll
figured it
see
out
it
by
and they'll
now.
pick it up.
I'd be very surprised if it was different because we know like the DCAU can be adapted into the mainstream universe. We've seen it with Harley Quinn. She has the same origin story that she had in Mad Love, and that works just as well. So I don't see any reason why Andrea Beaumont can't exist in. The
They got
mainstream
the
universe either.
what was it? She awaits you. Is that what it
Yeah.
says?
Yeah.
But so that's just the Phantasm's a girl. In case you didn't know that.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
And
But it's
also,
like it is 25
your
years
angel
old,
of death
whatever.
awaits.
I
26 years old.
I think I've seen a lot of people are kind of concerned about the fact of it's like, oh, Bruce is with Catwoman again, but they're bringing in another love interest. Tom King's gonna bungle this one up because like there's so many people that are mad about the wedding, and like I get it to an extent, but I think the way that I look at it is Tom King has said from the start that he had, you know, a 100 issue story that he wanted to tell. And I feel like that's from what I've read, that story ends with Batman and Catwoman together. I mean, that's why we got the
Yes.
Batman Catwoman story. And so for him to do the wedding and for DC to like promote the shit out of it like they did and make it feel like it was the end all be all of like where this story was going, I feel like ended up upsetting a lot of people more than if it was just like, hey, yeah, it's the wedding, but it's
Well, are they
still the
upset
middle of the story.
Are they upset because it didn't like the wedding didn't actually, happen, or are they upset because the idea of a wedding at all? Like,
Well,
they promoted it really heavily with tie-in books, and they did like
Yeah,
a special
okay.
hardcover deluxe edition.
but did you really
the wedding
expect
special.
that Batman was going to get married?
I
Kind of.
yeah. From what I've seen, like that was the expectation of a lot of people. Was for
And that didn't bother me. I'll tell you where Tom King lost me is the arc after that. There were a lot of really good issues, but it was part of this Nightmares story arc where it just went, each issue was totally different than the one that came before, and it was just because Batman was in this repeated nightmare scenario. And I remember looking on Instagram because Tom King will like post. I'm not on Twitter, but he'll like post his tweets and stuff on there sometimes if there's like a good question or response. And somebody asked him like, "Hey, I'm following your Batman run, but I don't know what's happening anymore. Can you like?"
Oh yeah, no,
me?"
I saw. Yeah, you showed us that, I think. And then he just like,
Yeah.
oh well,
And then
here's
he's like,
what's gonna
"It's a
happen.
nightmare
Yeah.
sequence. Bane's manipulating everything. Batman's might be going crazy." And it was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool, nightmare sequence, easy, yeah, that makes a lot of sense." But it's because that it's been so like rambly and all over the place that it's like a lot of people are getting kind of frustrated with it. The last two issues for me too, especially when he punches Tim Drake out, that is where you kind of lost me a bit. I was like, why are we gonna punch out my favorite Robin?
so I
Not canon.
I haven't seen people upset about the nightmare thing. I've just seen the wedding thing. So that's
It's just Ted.
That's interesting. I mean, like I'm sure there could be a little bit.
And I've enjoyed some of the nightmare stuff.
I did
like the two issues in particular. The one where the Question is interrogating Catwoman was really awesome. And then there was another one that flashed back to the bachelorette party.
Yeah.
Where Lois and Catwoman go off to the Fortress of Solitude and get really drunk off Superman's collection of wine, and it was a really funny read.
Yeah, but so I did have a conversation with a fan on Twitter earlier, and he was like, when he said that he doesn't like Tom King's writing, I was like, well, I think it'll be fine, like, because we were talking about the Batman Catwoman thing, and like he brought up the punching out Tim Drake thing, and to me, going back to when I started reading comic books was around the time of the Bruce Wayne murderer, Bruce Wayne fugitive thing. I feel like I've probably mentioned this
by
before.
Ed Brubaker,
and so that came to a head in Batman number 600, where they're all in the they're all in the Batcave, the whole Bat family and everything, and there's everyone's just like, Bruce, you got to turn yourself in, and Batman's like, no, fuck you guys, like I'm gonna do what I need to do to actually figure out the situation, and it leads to a fight between him and Nightwing where like they're punching the shit out of each other. And so to me, as long as I've been reading Batman comics, like there's been precedence for him to fight someone within the Bat family and, you know,
Sure.
give him a big old punch. So for him hitting Tim Drake, it doesn't come off. Yeah, like it doesn't come off as something that's too far out of character, because in both situations there's someone behind the scenes pulling the strings and calling the shots, and Batman is not in control of anything that's going on. And for Batman being as meticulous as he is, I can understand the frustration that comes from not being in control and not knowing what the fuck is going on, and lashing out because of it. So it just I feel like it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Batman's slapping Robin across the face in those memes all the time. Give him a break.
That's right.
There's also, I was thinking with the wedding specifically, the reason I asked if people are upset about the wedding in general is because there was the whole time when Spider-Man got married to Mary Jane and stayed married for years, and then eventually they realized like, oh, we can't do as interesting stories with Spider-Man not having anywhere really to go with his relationship. So they just retconned everything back to how it used to be. Like, and DC does that every couple of years. So even if Batman did get married, like, he was not going to stay married for very long.
For sure. I think at the same time there was like, as the Batman wedding, there was an X-Men wedding going on, and both got cold.
Right, you're right.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like,
Really?
people were probably upset about that. But speaking of X-Men, going to the next piece of news, the team of X-Men the Animated Series has voiced that they are interested in approaching Disney for a revival of the show.
That's right. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's not very promising, especially the way you just described it. Like, they're interested in approaching Disney about the idea of doing. Like, it's
Sure,
very,
There
like,
is an
I want
officially
it.
licensed
Okay.
comic that has resurrected, a lot like what we're doing for Legacies. It's like a team that does the same animation art style.
Yeah,
in the
so
book,
so
but it's
X-Men
like the
X-Men
animated-
92
yeah.
just a few years ago brought back that world, which canonically that world is the world of the X-Men TV shows and the Spider-Man TV show. The other Marvel shows at the time canonically aren't linked, despite the fact that there's a lot of like weird crossover stuff. But so it's those two shows are linked, and the team like there's been within the last few years there's been obvious like interest in revising it, at least in print. So I could see it coming back. From what it's been so long since I've watched the show, but like every time that I try to go back to it, it just feels really dated. So I don't know. I don't
clunky,
know.
But
Yeah,
it's
I don't
not
know if it's
bad.
worthwhile. From what I've heard, it gets worse as it goes on. Like
Really?
well, so from what I understand, up until they do the Phoenix Saga, it's decent for the time, and then the season after that is just like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Okay.
So I don't
I thought it was going to end with the Phoenix Saga, just like they always do.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's worthwhile to bring back or not, but either way, maybe that'll give us a chance to finally, if it does come back, that'll give us a chance to like start going over the Marvel animated universe and make content on that.
Yeah. No, I'd love
that'd
to
be fun.
do that at some point, because I've always been interested in. I watched the Spider-Man cartoon a lot when I was a kid, but I never like got into it as much as the DC shows. But like, I had
I had a few on VHS. I had the Daredevil.
I had the symbiote VHS.
Yeah, they only ever released a couple of them on VHS. I don't even think that the full series is on DVD. I do know that like back in 2012, Marvel had all of their like old cartoons like to stream for free on their website, and so that was around the time that I had moved back in with my mom, and so I didn't have any friends, and I was like, oh sweet, Marvel has the entire Spider-Man show up, like let's watch it, and it held up. I mean, we're 7 years after the fact, so I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if it still holds up to today, but I know in 2012, like 20 years removed from its origins, it was still pretty good. So
the Spider-Man cartoon is awkwardly animated in that it never looks like the people are actually saying what they're saying. Like, I don't know if it's
that's because
dubbing
9
thing.
times out of 10 the dialogue is in Peter Parker's head.
Well, okay, but I'm just talking about, like, I don't know, Kingpin will be in a scene and he'll be like, it'll look like it was an anime that they dubbed over, but it was made in English, as far as I know. So I don't know why it looks like that, but it's always bewildering to me. But I had the Spider-Man
don't worry
cartoon
about
maker. You know,
don't
I
worry-
made
Oh, I
some of
did
my own
too.
Spider-Man cartoons.
all those
my first
studios
movies.
were
Yeah.
really weird with their animation. So I don't know. But still on the topic of Marvel, that Avengers game from Square Enix.
Yes, I saw the trailer.
Looks really fucking good. I'm not sure.
Good
I'm not
is
sure. I'm
your
not sure
word.
if you guys noticed, but that crystal in it, that's definitely a Terrigen crystal. So there's going to be Inhumans.
No, I don't even know what that is.
See, I thought the
the
trailer
crystal.
looked really bad.
Did you?
I think
was just
the
like, who are
the
these
slight
knockoff
moments. The slight
They're not-
moments where you
yeah.
get the like third person view where you're the Hulk playing smashing things, like
that
that
looked
stuff looks cool. But I
Yeah,
agree
yeah.
that like I don't know, Thor and Captain America specifically are like, what am I looking at? Who is like?
No,
it's just
the
so close to
problem-
the MCU, but just make it the MCU or don't.
Yeah, I mean, I can
It's
understand
so that they don't
that.
have to pay for likeness, like so they don't have to
Yeah,
pay the actors
maybe.
for their
Mhm.
likeness rights. So they made them look specifically just off.
just
enough.
barely different. Yeah,
That's fair. I do think that
it's
there
the
was
uncanny valley of the MCU.
I do think there was a little clunkiness in the character designs, but I did like.
It's all their stunt doubles.
I did.
Yeah.
I did like their design for Banner, and their Iron Man didn't bug me too much. So
Yeah, he's fine.
I don't know.
He looks good. He has like different personality, but it doesn't have to always be Robert Downey Jr.
Do you
so.
think this version of the Avengers will be in Kingdom Hearts 4?
Doubt it. I doubt it. But there are rumors though that this connects to the Spider-Man PS4 game. They've stated that PS4 is getting like an exclusive something.
Wasn't the Avengers Tower in the PS4?
The
game?
Marvel PlayStation
universe.
universe.
The MPSU.
Something like that.
The Marvel Portland State University.
But
All
yeah,
right, we should move on.
yeah, a couple more small comic book
Speed round.
newses.
Speed round.
Dial H for Hero and Wonder Twins are both being extended to 12 issue runs.
I didn't realize they were limited.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either, but I saw the creators talking about it on Twitter today, so that's the thing.
That's good. Yay.
If I knew they were limited, I probably would have been picking them up instead of trade waiting on them, because
I've been reading Naomi and Young Justice.
I want to read Young Justice.
What can you tell me about the Teen Lantern?
I have
nothing
art
yet.
of the Teen Lantern now hanging up in my house. Thank you to
She's
that.
a hacker.
You
She
do,
hacked
yeah.
the power battery.
Thank you to that Green
made her own
Lantern,
ring by
Twitter.
hacking the energy.
But we've also got the JSA is confirmed to be returning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It
And
was
then,
a long time
And
coming.
a series written by Scott Snyder. Or I don't know if it's a new series, but he's definitely bringing the JSA into the Justice League series.
Oh, I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I didn't read past the headline. I just saw that they were returning.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's definitely Scott Snyder writing them. He might even be spinning them off into their own book. I'm not sure yet.
And then we have Brian Michael Bendis is teasing the DC Millennium thing that he's
Yes.
working on
Mhm.
with some
We'll
Batman
know more
Beyond
about
stuff.
that.
Yeah, it's just like
we'll
a
know
page
more about
of
that
Batman
tomorrow.
Beyond action. Oh, well,
Tomorrow,
When
as
this
in,
episode is
3
out.
days ago. Yeah.
As in Thursday. Yeah, 3 days ago is the episode airing.
and then
But yeah, Batman Beyond's in it. Supergirl's a big character. He's been teasing a lot of interesting stuff for Millennium. DC already had an event called Millennium in the 80s. It was when
Superman turned
the
gold.
the Manhunters invaded. Like, no man escapes the Manhunters.
Yeah.
Like, Wally West's dad was a Manhunter in disguise.
The last piece of news that I have isn't related to
well,
anything comic booky, but it is kind of in the YouTube sphere of things. So it's been confirmed that Bo Burnham is writing songs for a Sesame Street film.
oh, okay.
Well,
they've had those before.
have
Do they?
they had Sesame
Elmo
Street
and
films?
Gra-
They've had.
Elmo and Grouchland.
Yeah, plenty.
I knew they did. I knew they did Muppets films that had some Sesame Street characters.
Muppets
Yeah,
show
films.
up.
there's Elmo and
Those are better
Grouchland.
ones. Yeah.
Was there also like the
That was
Elmo
a-
movie or something like that? There was like another one.
Hmm.
I gotta remember.
Elmo had all
I've seen
the
them
good
all.
ones.
Sesame Street movies.
Count them.
Well,
One movie.
I'm sure.
Ha,
I think there's
ha.
probably a lot of direct to
2
video
movies.
ones.
Ha ha
Well,
ha.
And that's
3 movies. Ha
you need to shut up.
ha ha ha.
Either way, I'm really interested in it. Bo Burnham seems like a really nice guy. I remember back like early days of YouTube, him making the "I'm Bo Yo" and all of that. I still haven't gotten to see 8th
Yeah.
grade yet, but I heard a lot of good about it. I've always been a big Muppets fan, and so Sesame Street is tangentially related, meaning that they're canon to
Tangentially.
each other.
Yes, correct.
They're adjacent.
They're adjacent. Yes, yes.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I feel like the most recent Muppets movie was kind of a miss. What was it, like Muppets Most Wanted? But I feel like they haven't done anything big with Sesame Street in a while. Like I didn't even realize they had done anything big.
It's still on HBO, I think. Sesame Street.
Well, I'm talking about as far as in the movie world.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh.
interested. I'm interested to see what's going on, because I imagine if you're not making Sesame Street movies on the regular, and then all of a sudden you're deciding to make one, it's because you've got a good story.
Sure.
Or if you're HBO and you don't have $14 million to throw at every Game of Thrones episode anymore, throw it at Sesame Street.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Apparently, Elmo and Grouchland was released the same year as Muppets from Space, and so that means there were basically 2 Muppet movies that year.
Wow.
Interesting facts for you on the 12th Level Intellects today. There's what was the thing? What were you just saying? So,
4.
writing.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, there we go. That's exactly
5.
it. Adjacent. Yes, my cameraman Brian, who works on my movie with me, he whatever. I think he watched the Will It Canon for Fatal 5, even though he didn't watch the movie. So he just enjoyed watching me or whatever. But he, like, the part where I just explained the word adjacent, he really latched onto that. So anytime that I say adjacent in another video, he'll just send me a Snapchat of him watching that part of the video, and then he'll flip the camera to his face, and it's just got a giant smile as he's staring at the camera, and that's all that it is. But I just always know that's
So
what
in
he's
other
gonna
words,
send
you're
me.
expecting one of those after this goes.
Well, I don't know if he listens to this, but I'll at least direct him to this part of it. So if you're listening, Brian, I hate you, and I wish that you would go away and
I
die.
wish you would be adjacent to
But
me.
but only that one Brian. If there are any other Brians listening, meet me around back in a little bit.
No, I hate all Brians.
Ooh.
Anyone named Brian can go get out of my way. Anyway, all right, let's talk about Dark Phoenix X. Dark Phoenix X.
Well, I'm.
Harry Potter
So-
and the Order.
so
of
I
because
think-
we must.
I want to say to start this off, there was a quote in the movie that I feel like
Describe the movie.
described the movie.
I think I might know
what's
which
the
one
quote?
Yeah,
you're
so
talking about. But
so
you can say
I
it.
actually like I was so bored with the movie that I actually like had my phone open the whole time and was taking notes. And then
I thought about doing that.
it gets to a part where they're trying to track down Jean Grey, and Magneto says, "You're always sorry, Charles, and there's always a speech, but no one cares anymore." and I just
Yep.
put
And he's like, "Oh, and there's the
I just
speech."
put in my notes right after that. I said, "Yeah, you're not kidding."
Yes.
The whole movie was just
The
It
thing
went
you
out in
expect.
such a
yeah.
whimper for this
Yeah, I
series.
know,
It was
I know.
really sad.
Okay, so the for some reason they felt like they needed to do the Phoenix story again.
Now, it was
But-
Simon Kinberg who wrote the script and
Okay.
directed this film. This is the first one he ever directed.
Okay.
Now, he also wrote The Last Stand,
Oh.
where they did do it again. So it's the same writer on both movies.
Okay.
This guy worked on Apocalypse. Simon
Yeah.
Kinberg's been on the X-Men movies for...
'Cause I
It
feel like
felt-
if they're gonna do it again, why just fuck it up again? Why don't you just try to do it? I mean, I guess maybe it's impossible to do a direct adaptation because of how long it is. Like, it can't be just one movie or something. But like, I mean, I barely cared the first time, and I knew Jean Grey for 2 movies before that. This time, it's like she's kind of in Apocalypse, and now I'm supposed to care about her like she's a main character.
So to me,
Right.
to me, the movie felt as if they decided like they took Zack Snyder's grim dark sensibilities without his sense of action and
or artistry, yeah.
yeah, and so the whole thing just felt like I have in my notes there was not a single moment of joy in the entire movie.
Yeah, there was no
And I guess-
levity.
I guess
think
for
there
like
were
five-
there were
What
times
about
where it was
what about the
supposed to-
party
Yeah, so
on X Mansion
Yeah.
and Dazzler's
So there
doing
was-
her
That
whole
was
thing?
really
I was like,
good.
that's cool.
There was
I liked it.
yeah. So like after I wrote that down, I was like, no, wait, there's that 5-second cameo of Dazzler, but like the entire scene is just is
Well, there's-
surrounded by more angst, and on that scene. Why is Storm like specifically supposed to be stationed next to the drinks all night so that she can provide ice?
Yes, I need ice.
Like-
God damn it, not again.
Like,
Yeah.
like, that's so
This
stupid.
is all I'm
One
good
woman
for,
ice
yeah.
I
machine.
like
I
Where's
also thought it was
Iceman?
dumb.
Yeah, where's
that,
Bobby?
Like, yeah. Well, so Storm obviously has more powers than make a blizzard, but that's what 90% of what she does in the movie. And then
She shoots a lot of lightning.
Yeah,
She
okay.
shoots enough lightning too.
I did think about like, you know what happens to a weird frog alien when it gets struck by lightning? Like she does a toad and then she does a weird frog alien in this movie. The same thing that happens to everything else. But so Storm was introduced as this version of her in Apocalypse as like a whatever like Middle Eastern country that they were in. And
the Four Horsemen.
Yeah. But she's like, again, just like Jean Grey, you're supposed to have an attachment to her because of the Halle Berry version, because of the other version of her. So she's played off as such like a key player, and like she's a teacher at the end of the movie. She's teaching like a chemistry class or something, and it's like you just met this 17-year-old. Yeah, you just met this teenager in Saudi Arabia.
I don't know.
I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess there is supposed to be like another decade, which is I thought was really.
Whole decade?
It's close. I know it goes like 60s in First Class.
Well, let's
70s or 8 70s and Days of Future Past.
Let's not talk about.
Well, I know we're not talking. Yeah, not another timeline stuff. I'm just saying. Yeah, for example,
so complicated.
They start off in the 70s, and then Professor X looks exactly the same.
Can we
in the 90s?
Talk about the major character death? Because I was kind of expecting this film
to
lead
spoilers,
up to the original X-Men film. I was kind of thinking maybe it'll all come full circle in a way.
Silly
like
person.
it never really. Yeah, I know. Obviously, it's asking too much. But there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that means that can never really happen. You know, one of the main things being the death of Mystique. Very early on, who informs like the rest of the film. It's like Jean Grey is responsible for killing off Raven, who's Jennifer Lawrence's version of Mystique. And then that kind of starts her whole journey into losing the trust of the X-Men.
I'm pretty sure that there was Jennifer Lawrence strain with the movies, like she really didn't want to be involved anymore, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And because there was a thing when she was in Apocalypse where she was just like didn't want to sign on for that one even. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they probably killed her off on purpose in the event that they did make more of these. You don't have to be in this anymore. It's okay.
We'll just do it real quick.
I think it was pretty obvious that she didn't want to be there.
She was phoning it in like the whole time.
Well, not even was she phoning it in, but like her makeup felt a hell of a lot like lesser than it has in the past.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Apocalypse, but like I've seen like side by side pictures of her from like one movie to the next, and it's like obviously she didn't want to sit there and be covered in the makeup.
Yeah. Compared to the original X-Men movies, especially, there's a lot more thought and love put into her, and especially like in this one, the most you ever see of her blue face is just her face. Like she doesn't, she never does the full body thing.
Did you notice there are 3 blue members of the X-Men?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Nightcrawler, Beast, and
because there was a kid in the crowd that was like, "I have a blue face. I'm like half of you."
Yeah.
So what? Nightcrawler was introduced in Apocalypse, right?
Yes.
Was there
X-Men 2?
This version of Nightcrawler.
Right.
Was there any explanation as to why his mouth?
He's Mystique's son.
But was there any explanation to why his mouth has to hang open like 97% of the time? Because it's so distracting. I feel like the guy who plays Nightcrawler, like I was kind of on board with him, but just his mouth being open the whole time, and like it felt like he has like the fake Halloween vampire teeth just kind of shoved in his mouth.
He can't close his mouth.
And the entire time,
that's probably
the entire time that I'm looking at him, I'm just like, this is taking me out of everything. Like,
yeah, he had two of the most interesting moments in the movie for me. I think.
I thought so too.
Because one, like you were talking about, there's no levity really. There's no funny stuff. I think the only time I actually went was when Nightcrawler teleports the chick off the train and then teleports away, and then the train hits her. Like that was okay. That was an okay moment.
Yeah, we'll see. So I thought that was.
And then
I thought
that whole train fight was really fun.
I thought the train fight felt like a completely fucking different movie, but
it should have been the climax.
Yeah,
it should have been like the second act fight scene.
It was a
or
reshot
something.
ending of the movie. Originally, the ending was supposed to be in space, and they reshot it to be on a
So
train.
the one part where he teleports the lady out, I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. But at the same time, it was just like everything else in this movie has just been so downbeat that I'm just like,
Yeah.
I could get on board with this, but it's just more fucking.
Well,
it's
and
just
why?
more shit, dude.
Why did
I
he
got a
get
question.
so?
I got a question for both of
Okay.
you.
Wait, real quick.
What's the
Why
name
did
of the villain?
What's
What's her name? What's Jessica Chastain's
Jessica
character's name?
Chastain? Yeah.
I
It's
couldn't. I
Jessica
couldn't.
Chastain.
I
You don't
couldn't- I
know.
couldn't figure
You
out-
don't know.
What's Mystique's name? What's Mystique's name for that Raven? They never say Mystique.
Raven.
They just say Raven the whole movie. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but we don't know the villain's name. We don't know her alien species name.
So,
Yeah,
like
correct.
speaking,
we don't know.
They're just
none
there.
of us know.
Speaking of names, though, fucking what really got under my skin was Scott going up to Jean and being like, "Have you heard what all the kids are calling you? They're calling you Phoenix, like the bird that comes back."
Right.
And then later, like we see the cosmic force like going into Jean, and it's just like, oh, it kind of looks like a bird. And then later at the end, we see like the Phoenix like flying over
The
things,
bird,
and it's like,
yeah.
oh, it's really convenient that they're calling her the thing that looks like the thing that none of them have seen. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so fucking.
My headcanon is she goes off at the end of the film and flies into a volcano and becomes a legendary Pokemon.
And becomes the thing that you see in Fantasia
So
2000.
did anyone else get to the end of the movie and think, did they just do
I did
the
get to
Dark
the end of
Knight
the movie.
Rises?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was expecting her to be at a table across the way, and they would like nod at each other, and then
I was expecting for Alfred to show up.
Yeah, it was music by Hans Zimmer,
Hugh
which
Jackman.
I thought was weird because Hans Zimmer has said that he wasn't going to do a superhero movie again after Batman vs Superman. But then he just did this one. Like, I'll come back for Dark Phoenix. That's the one. I can tell this is something special. I found Jessica Chastain's character's name on IMDb. It's Vuk.
What is it?
VUK, Vuk or Vuk
Fuck.
or something.
Yeah.
To Ted's
Never would have known that.
to Ted's point just then though, like, why wasn't Hugh Jackman in this? Like, Hugh Jackman has been in all of these except
Well, because
for, like, the Deadpool.
Logan was his
He's
like
done.
final
Right. Which is Logan in the other X-Men
So
continuity?
apparently,
It's in nothing.
like, there's been official word that it's a completely alternate universe altogether. Which, like, it's stupid.
Which makes sense with Professor X being, but like the Wolverine took place after Last Stand, and Professor X is back at the end of that. He's like, "You're not the only one with gifts who can rebuild themselves."
Speaking of Professor X, though, did he not have a serum that allows him to walk?
He did, but he had to. There was some reason. I was trying to remember that too. There was some
in
reason.
this movie.
No, in Days of Future
Well,
Past,
that
he
was
could
a
walk.
forced by
And then he
Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he walked
he-
all the way up those stairs.
Yeah, that I was actually that. I also laughed at that.
I,
Scene.
I was just sitting. I was just sitting there like, it. The whole thing's like, I can't walk, and it's just like, well, you had that serum a while ago, and like, even if they explain it away, the fact of the matter is they've made the serum before. It could be made again.
I think I remember now. I think it was that he
Can't
could
walk.
take
Why'd you walk?
he could take it and walk, but he couldn't use his powers if he did that or something like that.
One or the
I'm
other.
pretty sure that's what it was.
Either
But also just made me think about how Days of Future Past is a much better finale to the X-Men movies than this is, or any of them.
Yeah.
Like, I wish it had just ended there. Apocalypse in this movie add nothing to the, like, oh, well, those movies were bad, but at least they had this cool moment. Like, nope, they're just not
I was
necessary.
looking into it. You know, after like this movie came out and Hellboy earlier this summer, when superhero movies like this flop, people like to point fingers and figure out where the blame happens and stuff.
Sure.
And this one, like you said, it had all the reshoots there at the end. They completely changed the ending.
Yeah.
To be a totally different set piece. So that might have been that. But like Apocalypse had so many like blame game moments. And what's
Yeah.
weird is that was the end of everyone's contracts. Like for James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, they didn't have to come back for Dark Phoenix. Their contracts were over with Apocalypse, but they all wanted to come back to the and do this film and convince Simon Kinberg to actually be the one to direct it, because I'm pretty sure he must have written the script as like, oh, maybe people will come back. We've got the script. I don't know. Maybe we'll do one more. And they all agreed to do one more. And it still did not turn out well. Like I heard on Apocalypse, it was because like Oscar Isaac said it was such a chore to make that film. Like he recently did an interview and said it was not a pleasurable experience. And Bryan Singer, who directed the film, would like just not come to set when he didn't feel like it. And then like I'm pretty sure that's when Simon Kinberg started filling in to direct.
Okay.
Like it's just when Bryan Singer didn't show up for the
so
day.
there's just it's just a mess.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. And it's like that's Bryan Singer's got his own problems. We're not talking about that right now.
Yeah. The thing with I think a lot of these X-Men movies, well, I guess the ones following like the main storyline, I'm not talking about the Wolverine movies and stuff, but is that they hinge so hard for whatever reason on stuff that Endgame and like Avengers movies hinge on in the right moments of like, look, it's Magneto's helmet. Oh my God, no way, Magneto's helmet. It's like you do this same
that in every other movie.
Yeah, you do this every movie. You say, look, it's Magneto's helmet. So it's like, yeah, cool. Fuck off. I don't care. Like that's part. I don't know. They think that you care, I guess, is the problem.
I was more excited for the end where it's like, oh, it's their chess.
Oh, the movie's over.
They're playing chess together.
Yeah, I feel like they must have I feel like they went and filmed that and added it on to the end once they knew that they weren't being bought by Disney or something, because it felt very like, we have to end it because this is the last one, but the whole movie is already filmed, so yeah, it's a movie.
It's going back to the character designs, because I know I already trashed J-Law's makeup and Nightcrawler's teeth. Why does Scott's visor never work in like in film? It always just looks so bad.
It's very big. It's very poofy.
I feel like what usually makes it work in animation and the comics is he's got that mask that kind of goes up over the side of his face, or even covers like the top of his head.
Right.
And here it's just like really big, thick. Well,
because in real life you have to
LeVar Burton in the Next Generation.
But that's the thing, is like his isn't flush with his face. It's just a big bar across his eyes. Whereas this, like, if you see Cyclops in real life, if there's any gap at all around his eyes, you're going to be like, oh, lasers would be coming out though. So they have to like just have this such a puffy big
two
thing.
eyes.
Yeah.
Sure, but if you've got to do that, just go ahead and do the whole mask, the parts of the mask around it. That way, like, it doesn't look as like. Yeah,
that was another. I guess
they should have done the blue suit. They should have done the '90s. Uniforms.
Well, they did some stuff at the end of Apocalypse. The last like 2 shots of the movie is just like, look, we're finally the X-Men. Here's us in all of our unique, colorful costumes. And then they sort of had those for the first 10 minutes of this movie, and then they just abandoned. Yeah, on an airplane, was it? Right?
Yep. And what happened?
And you fell asleep.
Nope. Oh. I arrived at my flight and
you stopped watching it. But so they had the colorful X-Men costumes. They wear them for 10 minutes, and then the rest of the movie they're in trench coats and clothes, just like they are every other movie.
Bringing up that point though, like, it makes me even more upset with this movie because it's around the time X-Men the Animated Series was airing. They should have gone with those suits.
Full 90s, yeah. There was not. I liked at least that they didn't shove the 90s in your face, Captain Marvel style. Like, they weren't like, guess what? It's Blockbuster, the whole movie.
Well, see, here's my thing. With them not doing that, what was the point of setting it in the 90s? Yeah. Like, why have they been doing period pieces?
Because it's
and
before
pushing everything
2000?
up a decade.
When the original film came out?
But it could have just been in the 80s again.
I understand that, but they could have stuck with the 70s this entire time. And
Yeah.
And like,
no
one would be asking about like, why has no one aged?
McAvoy and Fassbender do not look like they're about to become Patrick Stewart and Ian
They're
McKellen.
they definitely have aged since First Class. Like, you can go back and watch them; they look way younger than that. But they're not 30 or 40 years older than they were in that movie. So yeah,
Nope.
I think the well, I don't know how much we want to get in. Do you want to talk the timeline, Maddie? You had a specific timeline thing.
Not yet.
Okay.
There was a.
I was thinking the whole movie about how I didn't like Professor X as a character. Like, he, at the start of the movie, he just says to Jean Grey, like, "Oh, you're not broken, but actually, I'm gonna fix your brain right now. I'm gonna just put a bunch of stuff in your brain that'll keep you from being mad all the
scaffolding.
time." Yeah, and then the whole movie, he's like trying to be like, "I was doing the right thing," and he never like winds up realizing that he was wrong. In fact, Jean Grey forgives him at the end of the movie. So it's just like, he was just a dick. I don't know. He didn't do a good thing.
That's what he did in the other movie too. Last Stand. Same thing.
I barely remember.
Yeah.
It.
So
And I'll barely remember this movie too.
I think before we get into timeline stuff, there are a couple like very small things that irked me. Mostly just like small lines and stuff. But first of all, who was that president? Because in 1992, George Bush Sr. is supposed to be the president, but that looked like Ronald Reagan or Nixon to me. Like, I legitimately was Googling presidents.
Fictional president, yeah.
Joe McPresident, yeah.
After Days of Future Past, this is not the world we know.
They could have at least given him a name. That way people aren't sitting there like, that doesn't look like George Bush.
I think that was
President Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
They just called him Mr. President.
Yeah.
Which like was annoying to me. But one of my first notes was, "Oh yay, voiceover with a black screen, very vague pseudo inspirational nonsense."
Yep.
Like, I get that they started the original X-Men that way, but like, if you're gonna mirror that, don't do it on such a bad.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought as it was happening, and then I thought, oh no, it might be okay because this might transition into like showing DNA and then doing the X-Men theme song intro like they do every other movie, and then it just showed the title with like creepy sounds, and then it went into the movie. We never got the thing. Yeah.
The title. So you know how like all the promotional material, it was the focus on the X at the end. The title in the film, the focus was on the O in Phoenix, and like the O there did like this weird little like circle animation.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, what? Like,
the O stands for Origins Wolverine.
The O stands for over.
The oranges.
Yeah. Secret oranges.
So that line that when they got back from their space mission, and J-Law says, maybe you should call it the X-Women because we're all the ones doing the work. Like, I love girl power moments, but that was so fucking bad. It was like I wasn't expecting.
Go. You finish your thought.
Did you? So I had listened to the Tim Talk podcast this week because they were doing Zeta, and they ended it on their Dark Phoenix review, and like they talked specifically about that line, and I was just like, I don't know that, like I get what they're doing, but like they're when I heard them talking about it, I was like, it can't be as bad as they're saying, because they were like, it sounds like a dude bro writing for a woman who doesn't know how a woman would talk. And then it got to that point, and I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking like...
It's not that it was like, like you're right. It's not that it was a bad like idea to say that. Like, it could have been like a oomph moment. Like, it could have been heavy. But I remember thinking, as soon as I heard her say it, I thought in my head, like, oh, I would have maybe written it as saying like, oh, you might think about... Or the way she said it was like, there's a lot of like the women are pulling a lot of the weight around here, so you might consider calling it the X-Women instead of the X-Men. Like, it was just written really clunkily, and I thought to myself immediately, like, oh, I would have maybe said the girls are like use a different word than women twice in one sentence, like
So they didn't even need to say it. They could have said, the women are pulling all the weight here. Maybe you should think about changing the name of the team.
yeah, exactly. Like you would know exactly. The same thing happened when the scene with Magneto stops the helicopter blade, and then it starts again, and the dude's like, "Stop that!" And he's like, "It's not me." And then Jean Grey off screen says, "It's me." And then you see her. You could have just shown her. You could have just shown her. You didn't have to say, "It's me." We know it's you.
Jean Grey had one earlier where it's like, "That's not me." Like that was the thing throughout the movie, was them being like, "It's not me. I'm not doing that."
Who is it? Yeah.
But even like with rewriting that line, I still feel like it doesn't fit the moment, because think about the space mission.
Yeah.
You had Storm kind of controlling things, and you had Mystique leading the team but not really doing anything. Yeah. But then you had Nightcrawler teleporting in. You had Scott shooting his lasers out of that. They have a fucking like Scott laser cannon.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, actually.
Cool. I like that too.
I thought it was ridiculous.
It was, but that was good. I don't know. They need more stuff like that.
So they had Nightcrawler going in. They had the Scott laser cannon. They had Quicksilver going in. And Storm is the only girl who did anything, unless you count Mystique.
Well, Jean Grey held the ship together. Well, it was pretty even.
So either way, it's a pretty even like displacement of work, and as a result, the line doesn't
really fit
at all
the moment. Yeah,
it's.
They're trying. I don't know. I didn't understand the whole point of trying to build the distrust between Mystique and Xavier, because then she dies and it means nothing. And
because then it means so much more that Jean doesn't trust Xavier.
Yeah, and it also means so much more that Beast is now against him for 20 minutes.
I love the guy who plays Beast. I think he's a beautiful man. I put that down in my notes. As soon as he showed up on screen, I was just like, I love him and I want to protect him.
He's my baby boy.
Little blue kitty.
I was happy with how tight Sophie Turner's shirts were most of the movie. That was pretty cool. Just throwing that out there. Speaking of misogyny,
another line that pissed me off was when they specifically said first class.
Yeah, well,
I wrote down quick, make them all think about a better movie.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that when they said that, I had two thoughts. One was that now the title of that movie is like a canonical name that in universe, like it wasn't just a name for like describing the movie. It's now a thing that they actually called themselves. And then two, it made me think that I thought they were going to pull a Family Guy and be like, it's time to become Superman 4, the quest for peace. Like they'll have to just keep saying like, man, what about all these days of future past going on here?
Phoenix is dark.
Oh man, we got to stop the apocalypse, the X-Men apocalypse.
Turn on the lights because we got a dark Phoenix.
What is this Dark Phoenix over here?
There was also like the way that they resolved everything from the movie was essentially Phoenix just said, "Oh yeah, you're right. I'm being a bad guy, and I guess I should stop doing that."
Yeah,
and
I mean, I thought
there was no weight to it. There was no like actual convincing. Yeah. There was no reason for her to flip back. The whole thing just annoyed me so much.
It's like you can't win adapting this story because, for one, in X-Men 3, every time I've watched that, which maybe is 3 or 4 times, it's like they spend not enough time on Jean Grey for me to care when she dies. Like, she comes back at the start of the movie, she's a completely different character, and then she's just like a Magneto henchwoman for most of the movie, and then she gets killed at the end. And then in this one, they spend way too much time on Jean Grey, and I care not at all because she's shown to me as if she's as main of a character as like Professor X and everything, even though she hasn't been in this version of her. So there's just no middle grounds that you can really find. I don't know.
So I think the reason that it works better in X-Men 3 though is because if we're being honest, the X-Men movies from X-Men up until Logan essentially are Wolverine's story. And we come to care about Jean because we care about
Wolverine,
and Wolverine cares about her. And so we're able to get that not a huge emotional attachment to her. She's still kind of like a cardboard cutout that's been slapped into someone else's story. Yeah. But we're able to care about the situation she's in because we care about the people that care about her. Whereas here, we don't have that at all. I don't know if any of that was set up at all in Apocalypse.
Kind of. Scott Summers is kind of set up to be that character where every line he's got is like, Jean, what can I do to like I love you, you know, like
right, but like I didn't care about him either, so that didn't like that didn't transmit anything over to her.
He's so okay. This
I like the actor. Okay, Ty Sheridan, he's fine in the part.
So okay, who is this movie for? Because it's not for fans of the original X-Men movies, because these are different characters and they're not portrayed the same, and they're not money people.
It's for Simon Kinberg.
Yeah, okay. There you go. That's the answer. All right.
Got to direct it. He got to redo The Last Stand that he wrote.
It's
for him.
Jean Grey just destroying everyone by putting her hands up near them at the end was weird. Like a thing that you didn't like.
It was the Thanos snap.
Yeah, it was meant to be this super badass thing that she was doing, and then it was just like I'm just glazed over eyes at this point. And it also reminded me of well, no, say what you're going to say first, because what I'm about to say doesn't make any sense. So,
I guess I was just going to say that, like, I think this film really took everyone who was a part of it by surprise in terms of how bad it was received. Like, because when they started doing the press tour and everything, you know, Dark Phoenix, it's like, this is Sophie Turner's movie. This is all about Jean Grey. Sophie Turner was just in the world's biggest TV show that just ended Game of Thrones, right? She was Sansa Stark. So she's riding on that, all that hype from the end of Game of Thrones as they're going on the press tour for Dark Phoenix. And like, by all of that should have put this movie like, on the map, and it didn't.
Well, I think it's also, it didn't help that in my head, my most recent Sansa Stark experience was not a great one. Like, if this had come out between the last couple seasons, I think maybe it would have been a bigger deal, you know, in the 2-year gap or whatever. But now it was just like, oh, well, I didn't really like her character last season, so I don't like her here either. I don't know. But what I was going to say about her doing the turning people to ashes thing is, we had my friends and I in high school had an inside joke sort of thing about, we would play in the pet band at basketball games, and every time that we wanted the opposing team to miss the shot they were about to take, my friend Will, who played the Batman board game with us, he would just reach his hand out in a stopping hand motion and go, "Don't." And then that person somehow would always miss the shot when he would do this. We'd like talk about how he has like some sort of psychic.
Will,
he's the Dark Phoenix.
Will's got abilities.
So she, at the end of the movie, I was just laughing because she's running around going, "Don't," and person would turn to ash, and "Don't," and the person would turn to ash. So that's pretty good.
Back on since we're on the end of the movie still. There was the whole, your emotions make you weak. No, they make me strong.
It took so long to get to that line.
Fucking literally, the only emotion in you
is anger.
Was just angst.
And also, that was not a thing. That wasn't like a callback to anything from earlier in the movie that I could remember. Like, usually that's some sort of moment where it's like, oh, it's the thing they said at the start or something. But like, you know, it would have made more sense maybe if the bad guy had said like, "You're broken" or something, and then she could be like, "No, I'm not broken, whatever. Like call back to something earlier. Don't just say a thing because it sounds slightly cool. Like there's no punch behind it. I don't know.
Yeah. The last couple notes I have
Yes.
Before we get into the timeline stuff is they used their one F-bomb.
Yeah, what the hell? That was so weird. It was so out
Where
of
was
place.
it? I didn't catch it.
He said, "If you touch her, I'm gonna fucking kill you." Cyclops said that to Magneto, and it was not. It didn't. I was so like, "What is happening?" Like, it wasn't. I don't know. It was really bizarre.
Don't you touch her.
It was very just out of the blue.
Yeah.
But there was that. It took an hour to get to Michael Fassbender.
Oh, really?
I mean, maybe a little bit less depending on how long the trailers were, but I looked down at my phone and I was like, oh, it's already like 1:30 and the movie started at 12:20.
I laughed at when he showed up because I could tell that they spent most of their budget for special effects on the Jean Grey Phoenix, like swirly Captain Marvel looking kind of fiery stuff, because like she goes to the Magneto like Brotherhood camp or whatever, and she's standing there, and then Magneto he's a fucking like Gumby. He just floats off the thing toward her, and then he lands and he transitions into Michael Fassbender as he's landing, and it just looked so bad. I don't know. Why? Last thing, yeah.
It's two very small things. Nothing in this movie matters at all.
Yep.
Period. That's all there is to it. And in the while the trailers were going, I wrote down Hobbs and Shaw looks much more fun than this movie is about
It
to
does.
be.
It really does.
And
yeah,
so does Stuber.
Oh yeah,
And
that
both
looked
of
okay.
those-
Yeah.
Both of those trailers, the lady right in front of me, because there were only like 5 of us in the theater. The lady right in front of me was just like, "Oh, that looks interesting."
Yeah.
Both times.
Yeah, they showed a trailer for that Christian Bale Ford race car movie also. I can't remember what it's called.
I didn't
Ford
see
v
that.
Ferrari or something. And the only other people in the theater with me at the time, it said like, "Oh, we should go see that." But didn't say it. They were leaving Dark Phoenix going like, I don't know, it was okay, I guess. So,
But
there was the woman in the theater when I saw it, and It Chapter 2 played, and she was like, "I am not gonna go see that movie."
That
And
looks
another guy with her
scary.
was like, "Well, I already saw the first one, so I have to go."
I have to, yeah.
that's how I felt with all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I've seen the first one, so I need to just
Yeah,
I
pretty
go
much.
to the next one.
I will say that at the end of the movie, the last like 10 minutes or so like mid train fight through the end of the movie, there was this guy that showed up maybe halfway through the movie. I was mostly by myself in the theater. It was that one family I talked about, and then this guy showed up about halfway through, and he reeked of beer. And then he sat down and popped a can of something open. I can only imagine another beer.
That was you.
Yeah, that was
we
me.
saw the same movie.
That was
Okay.
me. I was talking about myself. Yeah,
That
I
was
showed up
me,
halfway
and that was you.
through. But so he did that, and then the last 10 minutes of the movie, I'll give you my experience. So he had a bag. He had a bag that he had his beer in, like a crinkly Safeway bag or something. And then the last 10 minutes of the movie was just. Gene! 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 So it's like, and I kept turning to him, and I almost said, "Nice crinkly bag you got there," but it was like the movie was ending, so I just decided not to.
And
care.
it was also Dark Phoenix. It, was
It
Dark
really
Phoenix,
was.
and
I didn't
probably
care the whole
sounded
time.
better.
Yeah. Oh, thank God I can't hear most of the dialogue. So I just wanted to do that little bit there. Now you can say your last thing, man.
So, well, I think we're to the point where we've got to talk about the timeline.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's try to keep it less than 10
quick,
minutes if
quick
you can.
timeline question for you.
Uh,
A quick timeline question.
Do you want to put this question out now, or do you want to wait until
You
I say what I
explain it.
say in case it gets answered?
Go ahead and get started because I'm trying to remember what it was now. It's
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I got it. Okay, so okay, Jean Grey, right? No, this is like her very beginning, right? Her childhood.
Okay, no. Because this
Are you
is
gonna
what
talk
I'm
about
talking
that?
Maddie has a plan.
Because
This
we
is
see
what
her
I'm talking
childhood in
about.
other movies, right?
This is what I'm talking about.
All right, go
I'm
ahead.
not even listening to you right now.
Okay.
Okay. So James, go ahead, clip this
Yes,
out, put it as an extra video. Have people wondering why we have an X-Men video on our DCAU channel.
None of that Marvel shit. Get that out of here.
That's right. Someone said
This
that on my
movie,
graphic
okay,
content. The other
this
day.
movie does not make sense. So Jean Grey is an 8-year-old in 1975.
Yes.
This means that she would have been born in 1967. Okay.
Good year.
Which is before the Days of Future Past thing happens. And so that means she should be born in 1967 in both timelines.
Okay.
And the X-Men The Last Stand, her as a kid is in 1982. But
my
interestingly enough, she is an adult in 1983 in Apocalypse. But then again, we're only like 17 years or so after the fact of her being an 8-year-old. So she's 25 here in in
Dark
Phoenix. But
Okay.
she was also an adult in Apocalypse, which is in 1983. But she was only 8 years old in
Yes.
none of that makes sense. I can concede that perhaps she is born in 1967 in both timelines, because the actress who played her in 1982 scene is 14 years old. So maybe there's enough wiggle room to be like,
Are you talking about
she's
in
really...
X3?
in X3 The Last
Yeah,
Stand.
with-
So maybe
yeah.
there's enough wiggle room for that to work. But then she should be a fucking child in Apocalypse. None of it makes any goddamn sense.
They are
It's-
teenagers in Apocalypse. They're like young. They're supposed to be younger teenagers, whereas now they are in their mid-20s.
Sure, but like
Cat, you gotta pick in or out, dude. In or out.
this is one of the
Keep them
this
in.
is one of the problems with these movies jumping decades, is that Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy and the guy who plays Beast haven't aged but like 8 years in a 30-year span. But then we're here seeing Jean Grey aged 17 years.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
In as much
And Tim
time.
Drake is still 13 in the Return of the Joker flashback.
And yet she hasn't aged since Apocalypse. And it doesn't make any sense.
How-
this movie shouldn't exist. The timeline is broken.
This movie shouldn't exist.
And on top of all of this, Jean Grey is in the end of Days of Future Past when
Yes.
Wolverine
Yeah.
wakes up.
I thought about that. That
and
was
so-
my main timeline complaint, was that, like, is the end of Days of Future Past not the First Class timeline after all? It's just another separate timeline that he
Is
goes back
Mystique
to.
There at the end of Days of Future's Past?
No.
Because if
No,
then she's
but-
dead, which means
Yeah.
maybe Jean Grey
Jean
comes,
Grey comes
back
back.
in a different story.
But they're all fine with that she killed Mystique.
yeah, they are.
Mystique's-
She wasn't in control.
Mystique's not there.
Mystique
but
didn't want to be in the
fucking-
movie anymore.
Wolverine's there.
There's too much nonsense
Yeah.
going on. The X-Men movies have never cared about continuity.
I'm just
And
glad they're over it, because then we don't have to deal with
Here's
it
a
anymore.
counterpoint. Here's a counterpoint. Now that Deadpool is part of this universe, is that why it doesn't make sense anymore?
No, because he breaks the
No,
fourth
because it
wall,
didn't make
so
sense
he's
before
not
Deadpool.
canon. Don't you
Yeah, but
see?
Deadpool knows that McAvoy and Patrick Stewart are playing Professor X in the world that he lives in.
Yeah.
Sure, but I don't even think Deadpool is in this timeline, because wasn't the X-Men scene in Deadpool 2, like, didn't that have characters that should be dead by then?
And he
Like
does
who?
go back
Who also
and, like,
still
kill
haven't
his
aged?
other self from X-Men Origins, doesn't he?
Yeah. So I had put a theory on Reddit that, like, there are technically 2 Deadpools in this universe because everything before Days of Future Past is still canon to both universes, meaning that since Deadpool was an adult in like 1975 in the opening of X-Men Origins, this means that Deadpool was already an adult before 1973. And I don't know if Ryan Reynolds saw that and decided, oh, shoot, you're right, I need to make a joke and clean up the timeline. But he cleans it up by not going back and killing baby Deadpool, which would have been hilarious in like a Jeb Bush kills baby Hitler kind of way. But instead, he decides all of X-Men Origins Wolverine is still
did
canon
happen,
up
until
this
he walks
part.
through the door, yeah.
And there's no explanation for why there are 2 Wade Wilsons.
I think we just gotta assume that half the X-Men movies are in the timeline where Captain America went back and married Haley Atwell, and half of them are not, you know?
Don't even get me started.
Which half is which?
But I'm a person who's of the mind that I can understand not adhering to continuity if you have a story that's great that you want to tell. But the fact of the matter is, for so long, the X-Men movies have not had great stories that they want to tell. And so for them to throw out the continuity just seems ridiculous, because the continuity would help take away like some of the concerns that people have about these movies and why they don't work.
I think some of the stuff from the original X-Men movies are like, it's going to be hard to integrate them either into the MCU or just rebooting this at some point, or whatever they end up doing. Is like Patrick Stewart is the perfect Professor X, Hugh Jackman is the perfect Wolverine. Like there's going to be these characters that are like irreplaceable. And, you know, some of the stuff
get replaced.
Yeah, but some of the stuff that they did do, it's like J. Jonah Jameson. They haven't brought him in yet because they're like, how do we possibly get a better actor? So there's just going to be stuff that is like, that you will remember fond things about these movies. There are things that I want to go watch Days of Future Past now because I want to watch a good X-Men movie. I want to watch X-Men and X2 and stuff like that. But there's just, I don't know, there's so much more. It's the scales are tipped so toward the like, well, this was all just a big mistake. Why did we try to do this?
I think it's half and half.
I have a suggestion, since we both want to go watch good X-Men movies. I have a suggestion that for something that we could maybe try out. I don't know if you guys heard, but recently news came out that there had been plans for X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Daredevil to have teamed up in a Fox version of Civil
War.
War.
Deadpool would have been
yes,
that too.
and Deadpool, and there had also been back when the first Spider-Man movie was filming, Hugh Jackman was supposed to show up in a cameo as Wolverine.
That would have been cool.
So I think what we need to do is just take the original X-Men timeline, the Daredevil and Elektra movie, the Fantastic Four movies, and the Spider-Man trilogy, as well as the Spider-Man the new animated series, because that picks up after Spider-Man 1 and uses the same Kingpin from the Daredevil movie. We all just need to sit down, watch those as the original MCU. And for a podcast in the future, we need to spitball ideas for how that Civil War movie would have played out.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I like it. All right.
Homework. I gotta watch Daredevil at all. I have never watched the entirety of the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie.
I've heard that the director's cut is a lot better than the regular version. I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't know how much better. But I've got a box set that I found at Best Buy a while ago.
I saw you post a picture. It has all the different.
It was only $20. It has Fantastic Four 1 and 2, the first 3 X-Men movies, Daredevil, Elektra, and the first season of like the 2006 or so Fantastic Four show.
Do we think Blade and Ghost Rider would fit
Men in Black?
I feel like Blade, Ghost Rider, and Punisher could all technically fit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there are any material connections like there are with the other ones.
2003, the Hulk.
Yeah, Ang Lee, Hulk. Yeah, God.
Yeah,
Well.
I'm sure they could all fit. I'm sure they could all fit, but I don't think there are any material connections. So for the idea of our podcast homework that we will do at some point in the future that we're not deciding on at all.
Now you'll get the people commenting, "What are you doing the Fox?
What are you
Civil
doing
War?"
the other MCU?
Yeah.
That's fine. But so for that homework, let's just stick with that Spider-Man, that Fantastic Four, that timeline of X-Men. I don't know how far we want to go with it. I don't know if we want to go all the way from First Class to Days of Future Past, or if we just want to do the trilogy.
You should try to figure out a way to timeline all the X-Men movies as existing in the same timeline. Like find workarounds for all the mistakes. Like
doing
The
the
Mystiques,
X-Men,
you mean?
No,
Yeah.
doing the X-Men timelines.
The Raven.
Doing the X-Men timelines just as their separate timelines. There's already way too many mistakes. That make
That's
it
true.
complicated.
Yeah, they can't stay within their own. Yeah. Well,
I think in the original universe, Mystique broke into Professor X's mansion and he kicked her out on the
Yeah.
streets. It was like, nope, not
that's
gonna help
that's
you.
where
Get
the
out of my
timeline
house.
split.
That's it. That's the moment. That's it right there.
That's why Wolverine had to go back in time to stop Professor X from kicking her into the curb.
You
you know?
have to take care of your guests, Professor X. Share
The
your
Sentinels are
cookies.
killing us all because you put Mystique in the rain.
Be friendly, Charles.
Charles.
Okay.
That's my
Moving on.
That's my Magneto impression.
Yeah, moving
Charles,
on. We have already spent more time talking
Gene.
about this movie
Yeah.
than
We should.
I feel like this is the point where Michael Fassbender's about to show up.
Yeah. I rate this movie an X out of 10.
Oh boy, that's
That's
whole
a
10.
Roman numeral for
That's
10.
a full 10. Yeah.
That's a full 10.
I'm gonna rate this movie an O.
Whoa.
Oh, we can combine
For
our
the-
ratings
for the
together
O
and
in
have the
Phoenix.
X-Men logo.
You'll have Ox out of 10.
Nice.
Like,
One ox.
Oh, I don't know.
One
what to
ox
say
for your
about that.
movie, sir.
Yeah. I will trade you one ox for X-Men Dark Phoenix. That's what it's worth to me.
Just one ox.
All right. Comic relief real quick, and then we'll do questions, and then we'll go away.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I'm gonna think of what I've read or watched while Ted tells us the thing he definitely knows.
Because I
think Ted and I both have the same book.
Ooh, I don't think so. I was going to talk about Superman by Brian Michael Bendis. I caught up on
that's
his. Oh, that's your book?
No, that's not.
I didn't think it would be.
But I have read those, so
Nice. I did not. I skipped it. I skipped all of Bendis's Superman stuff until the Leviathan stuff started to be teased, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and catch myself up. And I bought all the trades. I read the Man of Steel 6-issue miniseries that he did first, which kind of set it all up. And there's that new villain, and that was set up in Man of Steel that's been in the Superman run, Rogol Zahl, right? He's the guy who is responsible for destroying Krypton. And now he's taking it on himself.
Oh, is he the big kind of like monster Lobo looking guy?
Yeah, and he's got two different colored eyes, just like X-Men 2.
Oh my
Stryker's
god!
Stryker's son had two different colors eyes.
all right, let's stop talking about it.
Rogol Zahl has two different colored eyes. So he's going off. He's
But
trying
can
to
he see
kill
why
all the-
kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
That's right. He's trying to kill all the Kryptonians. So that was like the Man of Steel stuff. It's still going out in the Superman book. The subplot has been that Jonathan Kent, Superboy, went off on a space adventure with Jor-El.
Jor-El, yeah.
Yeah, who was Mr. Oz, the same version of Jor-El, right?
Mr.
So
Dark
Yeah.
Phoenix. Yeah.
So they went off on a journey, and then Superboy comes back to Earth 7 years older. And so Clark and Lois have missed most of his young teenage years. Now he's like 17 years old.
Is this
And
sort
even
of
though it's
a thing like
He was hanging out with the
Interstellar?
crime syndicate the whole time.
Sort of, yeah. It's been 3 weeks on Earth, but
Yeah.
7 years for Superboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's just the way, like, Superboy leaves complaining in tears that, like, I'm too young for the Titans. They're never going to let me join. And then he goes off in his space adventure. Grandpa comes back, and now he's, like, old enough to join the Titans by the end of the story arc, probably.
So there's something in that run that like I'm kind of upset that they haven't picked back up on. But like whenever it was revealed that like Rogozal was the architect behind Krypton's destruction.
Yeah.
Like the Guardians of the Universe were like, okay, we're not fucking with him.
Right.
And so I was hoping that there was gonna be more Green Lantern stuff going on in the book.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, there hasn't been. But I do like where they're going. I just hope they pick that thread back up.
There's been a lot of Thanagarian and Tamaranian stuff. Like you see the leader of Starfire's race from Tamaran. You see the Hawk people of Thanagar and stuff, and even Ran, like I forget the guy's name, Soldath, is that right? Adam Strange's wife's father. I don't know.
Sure.
But the leader of Ran, they're all wrapped up in this trying to deal with.
Oh, the guy,
Rogozal
the young
everything.
Justice scientist.
Oh, was that
dude.
was that the Was that the no? That wasn't the space battle that like
There's been a few.
Jonathan and
Well, there was
was it?
one. So I haven't read number 12 yet, but at the end of number 11, they get wrapped up in like some Thanagarian battle.
Okay, yeah. So that might be what I was thinking about. It's so difficult to try to keep these runs like where it's been and where it is like all in your head at once.
Yeah,
because
because Scott Snyder's Justice League has been dealing with Thanagarians at the same time.
So I'm reading so many books at the same time, and a lot of them have the same character in them.
Me too.
Here and there, and so like I'm reading Superman and Action Comics at the same
Me too.
time.
I'm reading Batman and Detective as well.
And yes, and Batman and Detective and Justice League,
Uh-huh.
and they all have like different things going on with the same character, and so you're trying to keep in mind like, okay, so this happened. Oh wait, that happened. I don't remember that at all. So it's and with it like releasing like once a month, it's like the story moves so
Although
slow.
some of them are
in comic books.
Twice a month. Like the Justice League book has been bi-weekly.
Has it been? That might
That's
be
every
why,
other
that
week.
might be why I remember it more so than
Mhm.
some of the other books that I've been
Goes
reading.
faster,
But it's
yeah.
like it's just so difficult to try to keep it all in your head because it's like you're only on issue 12, but like issue 1 happened a year ago. You know,
The
in
Batman
real life,
book
like
has been bi-weekly also by Tom King.
that would make sense as to why I'm remembering that one pretty decently as well. It's just there's too much comics to read. That's part of why I'm doing that like continuity map thing.
Yeah.
Because like I kind of want to eventually at some point sit down and read stuff in order, like in a fast-paced way to be able to kind of keep a sense of what the fuck is going on with these characters.
I did that when I first started collecting comic books. I arranged my collection in continuity order, which would confuse anybody flipping through my books. But I had it arranged on my shelf.
I did that a couple of years ago when I started with the Rebirth stuff.
Now I'm not. Now it's organized by like, here's all the Superman books in a row. Here's all the Batman books in a row. And that's just better for keeping things cataloged and easier.
Well, I was doing it the way you said until I started buying Detective Comics as trades, and I went, well, I can't do that anymore. Like, I can't. If it was by single issues, I was keeping up okay, but yeah.
Uh-huh.
I read Heroes in Crisis, like you told me to. I read the entirety of Heroes in Crisis in one
I'm
afternoon.
so sorry you did. Well, it's not a bad read, but it's like
it was good to binge it like that because I wasn't as disappointed as you guys might have been. But
I love Tom
I wasn't
King's work on
disappointed at
Mr.
all.
Miracle. I was with the final resolution of everything, at least in terms of Wally's character.
See, I can see. So, I mean, I guess this is spoilers for Heroes in Crisis, so skip if you don't want to know. But there's the issue where it's revealed that Wally's the one that killed everybody. Then I remember you telling you guys talked about it sort of at some point, either on here or just to me in the chat or something like that. Because I didn't like whatever, I don't care, just talk about it. And so I knew it was coming. Like I knew there was like, oh, maybe Booster Gold did it, maybe Harley Quinn did it. Oh my God, it was Wally West. How could this be? But when I get to that, one, I already knew, but two, like I can see you reading that individual issue and it ending, on his Sanctuary tape, and you just going like, oh, what the fuck? Like, no, you can't do this to Wally West or whatever. But then, there's 2 more issues or whatever, and by the time it's over, I was like, okay, that was weird, and I don't know why they did that, why they chose to do that, but it didn't bother me as much as maybe I would have if I had had like a week between, or like a month or whatever to think on it each time. So I don't know.
It wasn't that. It wasn't the way I was reading it. It was more of I've been reading Wally West for like 20 years of my life now,
sure.
And this is a character like I didn't grow up reading the New Teen Titans by Mark Wolfman or anything, but like people who would have been super invested in Wally.
Yeah.
I also didn't follow his solo series as The Flash until near the end of it. So that
and like this is the same version of Wally from that universe, right? 'Cause he ripped back through the time. So like I can understand it from the perspective of somebody who's been a Wally fan for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I haven't really been reading Flash stuff, and so to me, like seeing like I read the Rebirth one shot, and that's probably my extent of Wally like since Rebirth started. And so to me, it was just like, oh yeah, like it totally makes sense that
it does make sense.
It makes sense that he'd be in so much distress and everything about it all, and he would feel so disconnected, and he would feel.
And the whole thing is about handling your demons the way like everybody's handling everything, and he ends up not handling it.
So I feel like everyone's disgust with it was particularly not so much that he had all this baggage, but that he killed everyone. But from my understanding of it, like Wally is essentially in like this insane like level of PTSD that none of us could even fathom.
Sure.
And he has all of this power attached to him, and it would make sense that like things just blow up.
Yeah, and when he kills the majority of the people, it's from like kind of an accident, but then he has to just kind of kill the rest of the stragglers in order to cover up.
That's a big problem. Yeah, he, like literally with what's his name, Lagoon Boy.
Yeah, like
in the first issue when you see everyone dies, Lagoon Boy specifically comes out in the rest and is like, oh man, everyone. Yeah. It actually might be issue 3 where it happens.
Yeah, it's
everyone's
I know what
dead.
you mean, yeah.
But then he gets like stabbed with like a sword or something.
Yeah.
It's not a sword, but he definitely gets like stabbed in the stomach and then dies that way. So like Wally definitely had to kill him later.
And it was a much more violent than he needed to.
Yeah, and so like I get being disgusted by that.
I've never liked
character, but like
killing B-level characters for the sake of it, like Lagoon Boy and like
Hotspot
or Hotspot, yeah, that was his name. Hot Streak is a stat character.
Come on, man.
Like Commander Steel, all those like smaller characters.
Like how he even talks about like I've died like 6 times. I'll probably die again, and then he just dies.
I know, and he'll probably come back.
I get the disgust behind it, but at the same time, I feel like the whole accidentally killing everybody adds another layer of like the what the fuck is going on in my head on top of where he already was. And I personally like I think that when you are at that point, like you'll act erratically, and because you're trying to figure out what the fuck do I do.
True.
I just I just did all of this just fucking out of accident, and I don't know what to do. It's
also like I mean I have a connection with Wally West Flash in a different way just because of the cartoons, I guess. Like that's the Flash that I know or whatever. But it was still like it was perplexing, but it was still to me like if a character stays exactly the same for decades and decades, like you can't do very interesting stories. So I feel like doing something like this where it's so out of left field you don't expect it is kind of refreshing, I guess. Like I know you're not going to agree, Ted, but
I'm hoping that it leads into something interesting, and he is getting his new series now called Flash Forward, but it's written by Scott Lobdell with art by Brett Booth, and those are two of the
that's the thing
most obnoxious comic creators in comics right now.
Why is that?
So Scott Lobdell
more obnoxious than Ethan Van Shire?
His art is really good. EVS has his conservative
but his
views.
politics,
Yeah, his politics are a little weird.
He's
Tell me why the
bordering
Scott
on
Loeb and stuff is bad.
Yeah. So Scott Lobdell did a lot of writing when the New 52 launched. He ran Hawk and Dove into the ground, and then they gave him Red Hood and the Outlaws, which he actually did a pretty successful series doing that. But this guy, like, I'm pretty sure. Let me look at what he's done. I just
While
know
you're looking that up, I'm
did
on the Discord, and one of the patrons said, "Did Ted accidentally video chat the Hangout, or did I miss something?"
I did.
You did do that.
I did accidentally do that. So this guy, Scott Lobdell, has written a lot of X-Men over the years.
X-Men. Get that.
Yeah, it was the Teen Titans New 52 run too. So he kind of was responsible for like making the whole Young Justice relationship between Tim Drake, Cassie Sandsmark, and Connor Kent weird when the New 52 started. And then Brett Booth, the artist, is just like, his art style is so one-dimensional. All of his characters look exactly the same. I'm just not into either of them. So like, I don't know. This new direction for Wally West just doesn't excite me very much.
Well,
I had my own.
Man.
That's me. Like, I would have been very happy if Doomsday Clock led into some redemption for Wally, because there's a panel or two where he's confronting Dr. Manhattan in issue number 10, and it's very likely that maybe we'll see something near the end of the series that redeems Wally in that way. It could be really cool if after the whole Leviathan stuff is done that Bendis is doing right now in the Superman books. So this basically took Waller off the table, the Suicide Squad's off the table, but inevitably there's going to be a new one because there's going to be a new movie and everything. And it would make perfect sense for Wally West to be the new leader of his Suicide Squad, considering he just tried to kill himself at the end of Heroes in Crisis. So if they go somewhere that direction, I could be a very happy reader. I would love to see that story of Wally finding redemption by being the new leader of the Suicide Squad.
I'm sure that'll be something. They're not going to end his story here with him being a murderer.
No, he's on the path. He's on some path for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do everyone's trash, if that's okay with.
What about
with
my book?
You read the same book, the Superman.
No.
Well, hurry up.
I have read that. Can I talk about Last Night
Yeah,
on Earth?
okay.
Oh yeah, we
Alright.
should. Yeah, we should.
Okay.
So it's Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And
Metal Team reunited.
It starts with you get.
All right, let's do everyone's trash.
No, we should talk about this.
I'm kidding.
It starts with narration that you're
has
led
James
to
read
believe...
it? Has James read
No.
this? So we have to be careful. We shouldn't spoil anything crazy.
I can
James, are you planning to read?
I can de-headphones while you talk about it.
You have to listen to edit.
Ah, damn it, you're right.
Just be careful. We'll try to do not too spoilery.
I want to talk about it though.
I know.
Let's skip it. Let's go to everyone's trash.
I'm sorry.
We'll come back to it. Let's come back to it. After James
stuff.
read it.
When is he gonna read it?
Buy your copy. Buy your copy.
I can read it
James.
on the
Order
internet with my comic.
You better order it soon. It's sold out.
It is.
It's going to a second printing.
Okay. This is everyone's trash now. This is from Byproduct.
I hope you got the question that was sent to me on Twitter yesterday. If not, I'll bring it up.
did, yes. Okay, so this first one's from Byproduct. For the podcast, considering it's Pride Month, if you could retcon any existing DC character to be LGBTQ+, who would it be? I'd personally want to make Dick bi. Maybe give Damian a crush on John. This is any DC character. Yeah.
So retcon him into being...
Well, this is along the lines of, like, don't change a pre-existing character, just make a new character. So, I don't know, but...
I'm all down to change pre-existing characters. I've got two in mind off the top of my head.
Okay,
go for it. I'm coming up with mine.
I think Vandal Savage.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I feel like with the immortality thing and being around for forever, like I understand that LGBT isn't a choice, but I feel like with that long of a lifespan, there would definitely be at least a point where you're like, okay, well, let me at least experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like that would be
also. He started off as like a caveman, so there wasn't like a societal norm or anything. It was just
yeah. I mean, like
yeah.
that's kind of a like just fuck whatever. Like put your dick where it's wet.
I fucked this meteor and I got immortal. That's the real origin story.
My other one.
Did you get to the part where he fucked a meteor? That's my face.
He slept with that meteor all night, bathed in its light.
My other one.
That's how they made Randall Savage.
Randall Savage's mom is the meteor. Okay, anyway.
Mama meteor.
My second one is gonna be Booster Gold. I feel like with Booster Gold being from the future, I feel like societal norms have changed to a point where things are more accepted. And like I personally feel as if like sexuality is fluid to a degree. Like so I feel like when you're in the future and it's more accepted in everything, you're allowed to explore that fluidity a bit more, and so I think it makes sense for Booster to go with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's had such a bromance with Ted Cord the Blue Beetle. That would have been a natural.
I'm gonna go with
something.
Desaad, because he's really into Darkseid. You know, he's got
He wants a D-side.
Master.
yeah, that's my.
It's an anti-life equation.
Yeah.
He wants the pro-life.
He wants
equation.
that anti-wife equation.
But two different jokes that are just as bad as each other.
Yep.
I've got two. So kind of in the same vein as your Booster suggestion. Well, not so much to the future, but Fire and Ice. They were both on
when you
the
say
Justice
when you say the
League
same vein, do you mean the main vein?
The main vein. I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
I didn't, but just because like I was kind of thinking Booster and Beetle, but also Fire and Ice were on that same Justice League team, and Fire and Ice were best friends. But I could see them, you know.
Oh, for sure. So because of the Brazilian line, I thought that Fire and Ice were lesbians. And then, like, I looked it up for the video I'm writing, and come to find out that they're not. And
no, they never were.
It's been a lot of queer baiting the whole time.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's a thing. I think I almost wonder if the she's Brazilian line was because that was from the Justice League Unlimited episode. But if it was because of like most of Victoria's Secret fashion models were Brazilian for a while, that was like a large percentage. I don't know. Like Brazilians are hot. That was the takeaway.
I don't think so.
Well, there's also like Brazilian wax. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
well,
so
like
my
Flash seems
other
so
suggestion
when she's saying it. Yeah.
I would like to see Jimmy Olsen be queer, because I think he was always kind of like not a master of disguise, but always like transformed into like a giant turtle man or like a you know wolf man monster, or like he would dress up as a woman and like
on every level except physical. I am a turtle.
So I could see Jimmy having a wide spectrum of identities.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Have you read the Leviathan
no,
prelude yet?
I got to catch up on my Action Comic stuff first, but I can't wait to read Matt Fraction's.
There's a really great Jimmy Olsen story
because Matt Fraction wrote it. That's why it's so great. He did the Sex Criminals book. Like, I'm here for some Matt Fraction, Jimmy Olsen. I can't wait to read it.
Okay,
it's fantastic. But back to everyone's trash.
I'll have read it by the next episode. Okay.
This is from That One DC Russian Nerd. Although, based on the capitalizations in the name, I would say it's pronounced The Tone, DC Russian Nerd. I came up with a pretty boring question, but what are your current thoughts on Matt Reeves' The Batman?
Excited that Pattinson is there.
There's something I meant to bring up in news that I kept remembering and then forgetting when we would talk, was that we talked last time about that there's the rumors that Penguin and Catwoman will be the bad guys, but now there's rumors that there also will be, I think it was, oh my goodness, there was a third Batman villain. Well, I just ruined it because I don't remember.
Deathstroke was rumored to be in early drafts back when Ben Affleck was still writing.
Let me see if I can find the thing.
I actually tweeted out after the Phantasm reveal.
The Riddler and Firefly. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay.
But so after the Phantasm reveal for Batman Catwoman, I tweeted out to Matt Reeves that he should just go ahead and put Phantasm
in the movie.
Nice.
That way the price shoots up on my Mask of the Phantasm adaptation.
Yeah.
And then that one guy said, "So now it's $2."
Yeah. But,
yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Those are our
Matt
thoughts.
Reeves, make me rich because I'm tired of being broke.
Put Phantasm in everything.
Bob the random guy. Put Phantasm in what?
In Phantasm.
Yeah, there you go. If the League was to offer amnesty to members of the secret society that joined them in the battle against Darkseid, who would you like to see offered a place within the League? Bizarro.
Giganta.
Who all was in that?
Giganta and Wally West had a thing potentially.
They did in the Justice League Unlimited comic follow up. There was this happens after the season's over, and Giganta is way into Wally.
He's very much has like a Tormund and Brienne of Tarth relationship with her. It's like, where's the big woman?
There's the big woman still here. Yeah.
She is because she's got amnesty.
Sinestro, no. Because he's too like Sinestro, you know. I feel like Bizarro could make his own. Like he's made some missteps, but every time Superman convinces him, like, "Hey, you're a good person," he's like, "Oh yeah."
Wait, so was it the Secret Society or was it the Legion of Doom?
It's technically the Secret Society. A little bit of both, yeah. But it's basically the Legion of Doom. Yeah.
Gotcha.
They still operate out of the Darth Vader helmet spaceship.
Yeah, they do. The swamp thing. Yeah.
It's not the swamp thing, James.
Oh, you're right. Sorry about that. Are you finding the list of characters, Maddie, or are you just want me to
I'm looking at the list of characters, but like
Gentleman Ghost. Gentleman Ghost would be such a gentleman.
He's not in Destroyer though. He's not in that episode. It's only once in Destroyer that he's asking about. But I'm going to move on while you look. Jeffrey Lane.
I think I'm just with Ted on Giganta. Okay. No one else is really popping out for me.
Jeffrey Lane says, "Is there any connection at all to the DCAU and Young Justice? No. And do you think we will ever have a small?"
There's a reference.
Okay.
And you see the logo when Gordon Godfrey's talking. You see the old logo.
Actually,
also those original members are the ones who were kidnapped on Warworld, or whatever that whole thing is at the end of season 1.
There's also a scene in Artemis's apartment when she's hanging out with her mom or whatever, where you see the ground breaks on Dent's Dream newspaper from Pretty Poison.
Ooh,
is there.
There's also some episode where the store, the grocery store with Green Arrow from the start of Initiation is seen, like the same rooftop background artwork. I remember pointing that out when I was watching it, but
so like it's got connections in the same way that like Gods and Monsters has connections. I guess there's reused assets, but I don't think there's anything like officially.
Yeah, the majority of the question.
Canon.
Do you think we will ever have a Smallville cartoon and maybe a Snyder JL cut cartoon version?
No.
Nope. On either one, nope.
And do you think the DCAU JL will ever return maybe on the DC streaming channel?
They returned
they already did.
For Justice League versus the Fatal Five.
And they'll come again for the JL reunion with Flash and
maybe
John
saying
and
like a TV show continuation, but I don't
we'll get another movie. We got another movie on the way. Yeah. It's happening.
Good old J Turner 510 from the Discord has been constantly sending me messages on Twitter, actually, whenever he sees anything new about JL reunion. The most recent one is that the numbers now for Justice League versus the Fatal Five, I think, is for 3 weeks in, and it's at $2,333,151.
Wow.
So,
there was also something, but like a tweet between Gary Miarnararo and Sam Liu, where they were talking about. Someone asked someone tweeted at Sam Liu asking if there's been any if they've started making the JL reunion. Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's the same.
And he's like, not that I'm aware of, or something. And then Gary said it's not surprising. And like of course, like I feel like just taking it a little bit too seriously. Like I don't know when he says like, oh, how are the numbers doing for the movie, and they say swell, and like, oh, perfect jail reunion's coming right now. Like no, it's fine.
Yeah.
it's not news. I don't know. Like cool, but
maybe we should do a little bit of reading too far into it with Twitter threads and stuff, and make it clickbaity as the jail reunion in the works right now video.
Absolutely. If there's anything we like here at the Watchtower Database, it's clickbait.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, the last few videos. This is from Phantom Gardener. So somehow I totally missed you guys. Read my last question about what characters from the comic world would have been cool to see answered in the 39th episode. Oops. Only to add, the Dreams of the Endless episode I was talking about was a BTAS episode that Paul Dini almost did with Neil Gaiman. Dini talks about it in Dark Knight, a true Batman story. Great read. Long story short, Batman almost dies. Death and Dream having a weird talk about his effect on Gotham and gives Batman a choice to live or die. Batman choices to live, and Robin saves him from the clutches of death. Anyways, my question is, as near perfect as the DCAU is, it made a couple of serious missteps. So what parts of each show would you change, but you only get to change one thing for each show? Well, I don't know what the serious missteps are, but I guess, I don't know.
Batman the Animated Series, I would kill the Underdwellers. Just get it out of there.
Yeah.
Just get it out. Get it out.
More.
Everything else can... Wait, do we get rid of Underdwellers or Terrible Trio?
Or I've got Batman in my basement.
We can only get rid of one. Those are the rules here.
No, you can only get rid of one thing, not a full episode. You can only change one
An
thing.
episode's a thing, my dude.
No. If you could...
An episode's a thing.
What parts of each show would you change? You only get to change one thing for each show.
I would have saved the Wayne parents.
Then there's no show.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know the actual answer to this question because there's a lot of stuff. I don't know what
Jason
I would
Todd.
change.
Jason Todd was a Robin.
Effect.
Jason Todd's a Robin
I guess
now.
That would have been cool to see.
I would have made Zeta Project go longer.
Yeah, I think everyone wants us to say that we would have changed the Batman-Batgirl relationship, but I've honestly never had a problem with it, so I don't know.
No, I like them together. I like Batgirl with Batman better than Batgirl and Nightwing. I would have added another season to Superman the Animated Series and had him deal more with the fallout of Legacy.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like maybe I would have made Superman more serialized. Instead of like just one-off things over and over again. That way you get more emotional attachment to what's going on.
I would have given him bigger cheekbones for the Superman.
I feel like Superman would work better if it were like in the same vein as like Justice League Unlimited.
Main vein
where you've got a constantly building story.
I
know that they did that to a degree with like the dark side stuff. Or like how some villains come back and they're like, hey, like this is the thing that happened last time and now we're doing this. But I feel like if you were able to tie together just like an arc that like almost every episode affects would have made it much more fun of a show.
Yeah, probably.
He actually went on to say, he or she, I don't know, went on to say their specific things that they would have changed, so that I should have just led with that. Personally, in no particular order, Justice League. Not completely ignore Superman losing the public's trust during season 1.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it's weird how they don't bother addressing that storyline at all when they could have easily made for more interesting stories right off the bat. JLU, I'm cheating because this applies to JL as well, but it's still a problem I have with both shows. Focus more on Wonder Woman's diplomatic side. Don't get me wrong, she was cool as fuck, but I think they were too focused on her being all like, gah, and punching shit when she's just as much a leader as a warrior.
What was she like, James?
Gah, and punching shit.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. BTAS. BTAS, most of it was solid, but I feel like the way they treated certain characters was a mistake, namely Poison Ivy.
Like the Underdwellers.
Namely Poison Ivy. I personally would have given her more screen time as a sympathetic villain, or I would do this for Catwoman, or do the one and only Gunn story. I would have given more Riddler screen time for sure.
Yeah. Especially the new Batman Adventures.
Yeah. Well, I disliked his costume, but you know,
Giving him more screen time. Put him in a different
STAS,
costume.
yeah. Less episodes that were just Superman punching a dumb evil dude in the face, and more character-focused stories like The Late Mr. Kent, seeing Clark solve a mystery with smarts instead of just hitting bad guys in the face. TNBA, give Two-Face a proper ending or maybe another season. Static Shock, less forced celebrity cameos.
No, we need more.
That's the
We
best
need
part.
more
That's
for
the best
celebrity
part.
cameos.
Yeah.
More forced
Batman Beyond
celebrity cameos.
actually explain what the fuck happened to Nightwing. Yeah, where is Nightwing?
Where is Nightwing?
And Zeta,
The
give it a
same
real
place
ending.
that Hugh Jackman is at.
And he also said to give Zeta an ending. Other question: were there any dumb thoughts you had / stuff you did relating to the DCAU when you were little kids first watching it? I used to call Static Shock and root for villains.
I used to call him a Mazo. Wait, no, Amazo.
Amazo, yeah, you did.
Amazo.
Up until
That
maybe
sounds
2
about
weeks
right.
ago.
Amazo is correct.
That's.
I'm
that's
sure
right
I
up,
said
that's right up your alley,
I
Ted.
said some other names wrong too.
Yep.
I can't think of anything.
I said some
stupid.
words wrong in my time.
But I do know that like when I was younger, I did have a DCAU specific Batgirl action figure, and it went missing one night. I fell asleep with it next to my bed, like on the floor next to my bed, and then I woke up and it was never seen again.
I used to sleep with my Padme Amidala action figure, so I get you. That's
This
not
is
creepy at all.
This is weird, yeah. Well, this isn't any better, maybe, but I mean, this is also to do with action figures, but it's the only thing I could think of since you brought it up. I had a Nightwing action figure. It wasn't, I don't think it was DCAU. I think it was more like stylized comic book looking.
How do you
But
not know?
because I barely remember it because we smashed it to pieces is what I'm about to tell you.
That's what Nightwing
So
isn't that
yeah, I smashed it with a hammer a bunch. It was one of those where you
Oh.
could dip him in hot water and he would turn like a different color.
What?
But now he is in the trash somewhere in a landfill. Okay, last question. This comes from
Wow.
our old buddy Jake Johnson. I have 2 questions. Oh, damn, there's 2 questions. 1, how come the Hoop Squad didn't join the Justice League? 2, how come the Hoop Squad didn't help the Justice League when Darkseid was attacking in the last episode of JLU? And Maddie said this is my all-time favorite question.
This is why we need the forced celebrity
Yes,
cameos
yes.
from Static Shock.
If Static
because
had
then-
continued into the rest of that decade, we could have had President Obama in there.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
So here's my answer about why the Hoop Squad didn't join the Justice League, and that's because the Hoop Squad is created and maintained by
Cadmus.
Rewatch the episode. It's like they're given their suits and everything by a government organization.
Waller.
That's not ever named or anything, and then all of a sudden, like a year or so later in the timeline, like I know it's
And the
a
bad guy they're
longer-
fighting has nanotechnology also.
Exactly. So like I know there's a longer gap between the two, like in real life, but in the timeline, it's only like a year or so later that Cadmus shows up, and even with a longer
they've been
gap,
doing
it's like
stuff,
Cadmus
yeah,
has
the
been
whole
around
time.
for forever
Yeah.
And
anyway.
Cadmus has Task Force X, which is sometimes called the Suicide Squad, which is the same word as the
when
Hoop
Waller
Squad.
says she's going to send in the squad and ultimatum, she's not
Yeah.
talking about the Suicide Squad.
Nope.
She's
Not
talking
at
about
all.
the Hoop
Can
Squad.
Absolutely.
You know we just wrote another Legacies issue.
Just show that scene from Ultimatum.
during
where she says
Ultimatum?
she's going to send in the squad and then hard cut to the Hoop Squad going in
And
to
they make
take
a
care-
slam dunk.
Yeah.
Fucking like
Nothing
Amanda
but
Waller.
net.
Oh god.
That's the answer.
Love it. I love it.
Now, but why did they not help when Darkseid came down?
I'm sure there were
And
plenty
my
of
answer-
characters that we didn't see.
Because they're
but-
sold out
Yeah,
to Darkseid. They're working for Mantis or for
G.
Vermin
Gordon Godfrey
Wunderbar,
sponsorship.
Granny or something.
Well, my answer to this is the same reason we don't see anybody else during the Thanagarian invasion. You know, why didn't Static help in the Thanagarian invasion? We don't know that they didn't
Yeah,
help.
he definitely
We
did.
just don't
We know
see it.
Vigilante helped.
You must have. Yeah.
He talks about it in that one episode.
You got tortured by
does.
them hawks.
So I assume
You got the hawk
that-
people
that-
in the back. That didn't quite work.
I got the Hoop Squad in the back, out there running track.
Slam dunk. Well,
Hoop Squad.
we should end the podcast now because it's been 2 hours. So
You can catch us every Saturday.
yeah, on Hoop Squad TV. All right. I'm going to plug Rick Sellis. He's an artist that does DCAU artwork on the internet. And he just did the cover for this upcoming Legacies issue that'll be out in a few days.
Awesome.
It does look awesome. He does really great work, and we're very lucky to have him on the cover. He said it was an honor to work with us, it's quite the reverse. It is. he's I don't know, he's got a larger following on social media, but he's also just like, he spat out that cover in like 2 hours. Like, it's ridiculous. So
wow. It's also possible that he makes more money than
yeah, probably, yeah. Speaking of that, I'm not going to say numbers, but we had a little bit of a disappointing month monetarily with Watchtower stuff. So going into the ending of this, I'm going to tell you ways that you can help throw us your coffee money, as we say. If you would
I imagine anyone who's here still after, we're after 2 hours of this. You probably enjoy the content that we bring you.
For sure.
And so shooting us like even $1 a month on Patreon is pretty cool. There's higher tiers over there. I think James and I have been talking to each other about beefing that up a bit more. I don't know when that's going to go into effect, but hopefully if soon, if you go ahead, sign up as a monthly patron there, whenever it does get beefed up, you will already be
reap the benefits.
You'll already be pre-installed for the new stuff that's coming. And if there's stuff that you're interested in that's in a higher tier, you can always check back over and be like, ooh, I want to give them more money because I want this thing.
Mm-hmm. And keep an eye out for an upcoming graphic content episode that I recorded today. There's a chaos magic spell to get you to donate to our Patreon. So should you watch that episode, you will be under my spell and have to do that.
Spoilers. Don't watch graphic content.
Don't watch it. You'll have to donate your money.
I think James had other ways to give us money.
Yeah, there are. If you don't want to give us, if you feel you're not in a place where you can give us money every single month, it's completely understandable. We have other ways you can help us out. There we have, for instance, we have our merch store, teespring.com/stores/DCAU Watchtower. I'm going to be putting up some new t-shirt designs pretty soon because we've got some extra zesty memes that have popped up since we started that store that haven't made their way onto t-shirts yet. We've also got Loot Crate affiliate code in the description of this. If you click it, if you've been thinking about getting a Loot Crate, you should click our link to go get it, because if you buy a Loot Crate after you click our link, then we get a little bit of that money. You pay the same amount that you would normally pay.
So out of all of these options, Patreon is gonna. If you're listening to us and you're like, oh, I do want to help them out, what's going to be the most efficient way to do that? It would be the Patreon's going to be the most direct.
Yeah.
Ted Kendrick is my Venmo.
Nope.
the
other specifically Ted,
the other two options take a pretty decent percentage, whereas the Patreon does not, and it's it's you and it's us. It's weird, I guess, begging for money, but we all need money to be able to do this. We are all.
We're not begging. They're still gonna you're gonna get our videos. You're gonna get our webcomics. You're gonna get our stuff.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So I've always felt as though like what we do here with this channel is a bit more expansive than the normal YouTube channel. We're doing the YouTube channel. We're doing the comics. We're working on the website and everything. Most YouTube channels, it's just a YouTube channel. So we're trying to give you guys the most that we can. But the problem with that is that it takes away from the time that we can spend on I guess what people would say are real jobs.
Yeah.
Like we all have real jobs, but the fact of the matter is that like we, like, say for me, I'm going to college at the same time, as well as writing scripts for, multiple videos a week and researching and everything. And so my real job, I only work like maybe 20 hours a week, if even sometimes. So it's kind of tight for all of us when YouTube does this to us.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not like we're guilt tripping you. We don't mean to do that in any way, but there is a point where the reality becomes we can devote the same amount of time that we do to this if it's in our best interest too, I suppose. Like, if it came to a point where we're consistently not really getting a lot of ad revenue and we are, we have a couple patrons and stuff like that, we probably will have to go back to, a smaller video schedule or not putting as big of projects out and that kind of thing. And again, not saying this to be, you better give us money or we're going to stop making videos. But at some point that's a possibility. And we really, we've been growing and succeeding with it. And it's really just these random times like this month where it's very demoralizing to come to a point and then go, why did we do all of that work, kind of a thing. So I really, and if you've been thinking about it, if you've been, grab a t-shirt, grab a, whatever, if you feel like it, if you never have to, we're never gonna force you to do anything, of course, but it's out there.
If for some reason anything that we're saying does make you feel guilty, here is how you can fix that. Make sure your ad blocker is off.
Yes.
When you watch our videos. That's it. You don't even have to give us. You don't have to give us any money.
Yeah, you're giving us money
Just
by watching our video without
off,
ad blocker,
and that gives us money.
Yes, for sure. Well,
cool.
I'll say the rest of this stuff. Thank you for listening, sincerely, especially those of you who are still here. Where the podcast is out every other Monday. iTunes, YouTube, WatchtowerDatabase.com. If you stream it from WatchtowerDatabase.com, if you and everybody else are streaming it from there, that's honestly probably the best way to listen to it yourself. Like, the YouTube app doesn't stay open unless you have YouTube Red or whatever it is, YouTube Premium, I don't know. And iTunes, all the descriptions are a garbled mess and you can't see what's going on. Trying to fix that. Anyway, share this with your friends. That's another way you can help us out very easily. If you like what you heard today, hey, these guys talked about Dark Phoenix. I agreed with them. It was a bad movie and they said funny stuff. Send it to your Dark Phoenix buddies who went and watched and laughed at Dark Phoenix with you. We're on social media at DCAU Watchtower. That's how you can contact us for everyone's trash, or if you just want to chat with us. We're also info@watchtowerdatabase.com. Videos are out on the channel Sunday, Wednesday, Monday, Thursday, repeating forever until we change it again. So subscribe.
And sometimes there's even bonus stuff.
There is bonus stuff,
like
yeah.
Trump
Sometimes.
tweets. Like
this week we had the Critters commentary.
Yeah, we did have that as well. Yeah, this last couple of weeks has been, that's maybe what's been part of the more demoralizing part of it was we put out extra videos too. And there's the Discord server, which you can find in the link or in the description of this, but also on the About section of our YouTube channel. That's it. Thank you, Adam Mullen, for the music. Music@atomica.com.
Nice.
Now, what do we end this video by going, Gene? Harvey.
Gene. No.
Bobby Newport.
Never worked a day in his life.
Bobby Newport's never
and that way,
dreamed a day
and then he couldn't afford to keep making YouTube videos. So.
That's true.
All right.
Oh, well. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
No offense, but I really don't think you could follow the reasoning of a 12th level intellect such as my own.
Guess not.
The 12th Level Intellects podcast is hosted by the Watchtower Database. Visit watchtowerdatabase.com for more podcast episodes, videos, comics, artwork, and pretty much anything DC Animated Universe you can think of.